Did you know? The Super Mario series has always been rife with rumors, but before the advent of the internet, they weren't as widespread. In the late 80s, a series of books titled How to Win at Nintendo Games was published, in which writer Jeff Rovin shared various video game tips and strategies from readers. In one installment, Rovin shared a lead he'd heard about a secret chocolate factory level hidden in Super Mario Bros. No information on how to access this level was given, and nobody ever came forward with more information. In later years, some have suggested that Rovin shared the tip as a joke, or as a way to catch people plagiarizing his books. Similar rumors arose about the game's second quest. Completing the game once will begin another playthrough at an increased difficulty, where the enemies are faster, moving platforms are smaller, and all Goombas are replaced with buzzy beetles. Some players claim that each subsequent playthrough would become harder and harder, to the point that every Goomba in the game would be replaced with Bowser. Another rumor claimed that by beating the game twice, players would unlock a full new game titled Super Mario Bros. 2. These claims were all false, as beating the game again simply starts another playthrough on the same harder difficulty. According to TV Tropes, there were also rumors of reaching a secret World 10 Stage 1. Although this was a hoax and Nintendo never included any worlds beyond World 8 Stage 4 in the game, there is some truth to the rumor. Due to the way that Super Mario Bros. Was made, the game has 256 worlds, most of which are unused. Everything beyond the planned levels are glitches that reuse data from the real levels. Because of this, it's possible to access a glitched, unplanned World 10 Stage 1 using cheat devices or by hacking the game. The game allegedly had a no-death trick as well, where plugging in a second controller and holding B would turn Mario invincible. This, of course, was false. Another rumor of the era was that something could be found behind the flagpole, and that it was possible to jump over and reach whatever was there. Although players eventually found out how to jump the flagpoles in Worlds 1 Stage 1 and World 3 Stage 3, the only thing beyond the flag is infinitely looping space. Super Mario Bros. 3 was also the focus of rumors in the late 80s. The game supposedly had a hidden set of levels in a ninth world, with various rumors describing different ways of reaching them. The rumors were clearly false, as the game already contains a ninth world, the Warp Zone. The game even shows World 9 on screen while in the Warp Zone. This rumor may stem from Mario 3's box art, which displays beta levels that aren't accessible in the final game. Rumors about hidden levels made their way to 16-bit Mario games too. Since Super Mario World's release, rumors have spread about a 97th level in the game. Descriptions of how to unlock the level range from getting specific dragon coins in the right order to collecting all dragon coins in every level. However, not only does no such level exist, but the premise of this rumor is based on a misunderstanding. If the player completes Super Mario World, the file select will show the number 96. Although you might assume this means 96 levels completed, it actually means 96 exits found. The game only has 72 levels, but several levels have multiple exits, which add up to 96. After completing Mario World's Special World, the game will become autumn-themed. This led to rumors that completing the game a second and third time would unlock winter and spring themes, but this claim is baseless. There also aren't any dedicated art assets within the game's data that would suggest this is a feature. Super Mario World rumors continue to emerge, even as recent as 2006. Late into the year, a video emerged showing how to reach a hidden level containing a secret laser suit power-up, which had all the functionality of the cape, plus the ability to shoot lasers. While the video fooled many, the laser suit was actually a ROM hack created by a modder known as K Phoenix. By K Phoenix's own admission on the ACLM's board forums, the special message from Nintendo staff at the start of the level was added specifically to fool people who saw the video. In the early 2000s, there were rumors that another Mario game had been in development for the Super Nintendo. The game was said to take advantage of the Super FX chip to feature groundbreaking three-dimensional gameplay, and was apparently called Super Mario FX. The story gained enough traction and credibility that it was even picked up by publications such as IGN. The source of the initial rumor appears to be an interview with series creator Shigeru Miyamoto from the January 1996 issue of Nintendo Power, where Miyamoto stated that he formulated the first ideas for Super Mario 64 while working on Star Fox, a project which pioneered the use of the Super FX chip to create full 3D polygonal environments. To help clear things up, retro gaming site SNES Central reached out to Dylan Cuthbert, a developer who worked with Nintendo and the Super FX chip. Cuthbert confirmed that Super Mario FX was actually just the internal project codename for the Super FX chip itself, discrediting the rumor. Some of the wildest rumors in the series' history came about during the Nintendo 64 era, namely the infamous L is Real 2401 rumor from Super Mario 64. As the story goes, the inscription on the fountain in the castle courtyard appears to bear the message L is Real 2401. Many players interpreted this as a secret clue hinting that it was possible to play as Luigi. Theories on how to achieve this included collecting all the coins in the game, running a specific number of laps around the castle, or finding all 120 power stars within a specific time limit, and so on. So many stories from players who claim to have actually unlocked Luigi flooded the internet that IGN offered a $100 reward to anyone who could produce concrete proof that Luigi was playable in Super Mario 64. The reward ultimately went unclaimed. Other interpretations of the fountain's inscription were offered up. Some players believed that it simply read Eternal Star, while others proposed that the number 2401 was somehow a reference to the North American release date of Paper Mario. Reading the number as February 4th, 2001 would match up eerily close with Paper Mario's actual release date of February 5th, 2001, nearly 5 years after the release of Super Mario 64. In December 2016, a Reddit user by the name Bond18T shared a 1998 letter they'd received from Nintendo after they asked about the meaning of the L is Real message. In the letter, the Nintendo gameplay counselor Michael D. Chandler explained that the message had no actual meaning and that the programmers put it in there as a joke. As another nail in the coffin for the L is Real rumor, the same texture that was used on the fountain in Super Mario 64 also appears in the Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Rumored power-ups for Mario 64 included a Hammer Brothers suit, which could allegedly be obtained behind the waterfall in the courtyard, as well as Fire Mario and Ninja Mario. Dan Ausen, a translator at Nintendo of America who worked as a contributing writer for the Nintendo Power magazine and Nintendo's official website, received frequent questions from fans about the existence of a ninja power-up in Mario 64. Despite repeatedly stating that no such power-ups exist, fans continued to ask about Ninja Mario. It was also rumored that players could ride and control Yoshi after beating the game. Yoshi himself appears in the game after collecting all 120 Power Stars, but riding Yoshi is not possible. Yoshi would eventually be rideable in Super Mario Sunshine, and would later appear in Mario 64's DS remake as a fully playable character. The next major Mario game to make its way to the Nintendo 64 system, Mario Kart 64, featured 8 playable characters. One common rumor about the game was that a Magic Koopa was an unlockable character. Some doctored screenshots were even passed around that showed him in action, but beyond the lies, there was some truth to the rumor. Magic Koopa was actually planned to be a playable character back when the game was titled Mario Kart R, and even appeared in pre-release media. Pictures of the early character select screen reveal that Magic Koopa was ultimately replaced by Donkey Kong in the final game. Another character that was rumored to be unlockable in Mario Kart 64 was a Thwomp. Not just any Thwomp though, specifically the green Thwomp that can be found behind prison bars on the Bowser's Castle track. Nicknamed Marty by the community, many rumors of how to unlock this Thwomp were shared across various sites. The most significant piece of evidence that supported the rumor was a YouTube video from April 1st, 2007 showing that Marty could be unlocked by playing as Bowser. The player would need to drive backwards around the track, circle the statue of Bowser several times, use mushrooms to boost up the stairs, at which point Marty would become playable. The video turned out to be an April Fool's hoax, and data mining the game showed no evidence of Marty being playable. Unlocking different characters would become a recurring rumor for Mario titles. After the release of Yoshi's Story in 1997, methods for how to unlock 2 additional colors of Yoshi began to appear online, and continued to circulate into the 2000s. In order to unlock Purple Yoshi, it was said that players had to collect every single coin in the game. To unlock Gold Yoshi, players had to unlock every level in the game's time trial mode, and then beat the top score for each of those levels. Documented attempts to replicate both of these methods have proven them to be false, and data mining the game's files shows no trace of either Yoshi in the game. Footage of Yoshi's Story early in its development revealed that both purple and brown Yoshis were a part of the game at one point, but were eventually replaced by the pink and white Yoshis seen in the finished product. Unlike other rumors that were proven false, the purple Yoshi rumor remained a fixture on many walkthroughs and cheat code websites for years after the game's release. Speaking of Yoshi, there are rumors on how to get a green Yoshi in Super Mario Sunshine. Although official artwork and early videos show a green Yoshi, this variant doesn't exist in the game. The only time Yoshis turn green is when they're about about to vanish. However, some fans who were desperate to have a green Yoshi discovered it's possible to alter a Yoshi's color using action replay codes. Another rumor about Sunshine is about a hidden book in Noki Bay. Many rumors have emerged on how to retrieve or open the book and what it does. In reality, it doesn't do anything, and Mario can't interact with it. The book is most likely an early asset that was left in the game by accident. It was apparently going to be used in a mission to get a shine sprite, but the way of retrieving the sprite is said to have been changed to collecting 8 red coins. Another rumor stated that in the Japanese version of the game, the book was used in a level that was removed internationally. Another one claims that the book has a message reading, "You have no life," signed Shigeru Miyamoto. Both of these rumors are false. Some rumors were also spread that Luigi was actually present in Super Mario Sunshine. According to the rumor, collecting all 120 shine sprites would cause Waluigi to appear, alongside Luigi trapped in a cage. Defeating Waluigi in a boss battle would supposedly free Luigi and unlock him as a playable character, but this rumor was easily proven false by players who actually collected all the shine sprites. Similar to the rumors of Luigi being playable in Super Mario 64, the game's remake for the Nintendo DS inspired rampant rumors about Waluigi being a playable character. The rumor reached a fever pitch in 2005 after a scan of a magazine article showing screenshots of Waluigi in action began making the rounds on the internet. According to the article, in order to unlock Waluigi, players would have to find all the stars and be the fastest foot racer in the land, at which point they'd have to defeat a Rabbit King boss and claim the key to Waluigi's room. It turned out that the article was a hoax created by Nintendo World Report writer Andrew Brown, who uploaded the fake article to his DeviantArt account and shared it on various gaming forums as an April Fool's prank. Within a week, the image spiked in popularity all over the world as people claimed the fake scan had come from Nintendo Power or was featured on IGN. Also in 2005, Go Nintendo reported on a leak they'd heard about the development of a new Mario Paint game for the Nintendo DS. According to the leak, Nintendo was considering releasing it as 3 smaller games, one for music creation, one for animation, and one for painting. The games would even have featured connectivity with the Wii, then known as the Revolution. No mention of such a project was ever heard through official channels, and it may never have existed at all. Other game rumors had most substantial evidence, however. One video from December 2007 fooled many, and claimed to reveal gameplay of Super Mario Galaxy for the Nintendo DS. In the video, it was shown that collecting every star with both Mario and Luigi in the Wii game would unlock the option to transfer a special version of the game to the DS over a wireless connection. Gameplay consisted of Mario and Luigi exploring simultaneously using touchscreen controls, and each star the player collected in the DS version could be redeemed for 10 Wii Shop points. The video had many viewers on YouTube convinced. However, a different version of the video uploaded to the site Stage 6 revealed that the whole thing was actually a project by video editor Pablo Belmonte. Belmonte was known for previous video game hoaxes and had the self-professed goal of simulating a DS version of Super Mario Galaxy using the technical specs of Super Mario 64 DS. This wouldn't be the only time that gamers were teased with a mainline Mario platformer. In a January 2012 investors meeting, then Nintendo president Satoru Iwata revealed the company were developing a new 2D Mario game for the 3DS. According to an IGN article from April 12, 2012, Nintendo registered a trademark and domain for Super Mario 4. 5 days later, an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto was posted on Korean website Beta News, where Miyamoto confirmed the existence of Mario 4, saying, "We are making Super Mario 4, but all I can say is, we just announced that game. More details will be revealed later." It seemed as though a game titled Super Mario 4 would be shown off soon, but no reveal came. The game Iwata referred to at the investor meeting was revealed to be New Super Mario Bros. 2, which left some gamers confused. Although it's possible this game was originally titled Super Mario 4, there's another likely explanation. New Super Mario Bros. U was in development when Miyamoto was interviewed, and this was the 4th new Super Mario Bros. Game to be released. This seems to imply that Mario Bros. U was the rumored Super Mario 4. In 2013, there were supposed leaks that Super Mario 64 would be remade again, but this time for the Wii U. Dubbed Reimagined, the game would have been the first in a series of HD remakes of older titles, released exclusively on the eShop for $30. The Reimagined version of Super Mario 64 was said to include 2-player online co-op with both Mario and Luigi, as well as new multiplayer modes such as Race to the Star and Coin Collector. However, no official announcement of such a project ever materialized. During the run-up to the release of Mario Kart 8, the Spanish-language official Nintendo magazine published an article that listed Diddy Kong as one of the game's playable characters, and even featured artwork of Diddy alongside other confirmed characters. Upon the game's release, however, Diddy Kong was nowhere to be found. fans still clamored for him to join the game, and new screenshots began circulating that showed a lineup of upcoming DLC characters, including Diddy, Magikoopa, Professor Egad, Birdo, and Plessy. While Mario Kart 8 would receive new characters as DLC, none of the rumored characters made the cut. After the release of Super Mario Maker, many 8-bit costumes were steadily released for the game's Super Mario Bros. Level theme. 2 months after the game's release, costumes for Daisy surfaced on social media. After some discussion around their authenticity, the person who leaked the images came forward, revealing the sprites were a hoax. They were an artist and an avid fan of the character, and stated that they wanted to show Nintendo how much demand there was to have Daisy in the game. In June 2015, an image surfaced online depicting a render of Mario and Flood in some sort of Splatoon presentation. The image supposedly came from a private meeting about new DLC for Splatoon, which would bring Mario Sunshine content to the game. Despite the image being fairly convincing, it had some discrepancies. For example, although the image accurately featured the Japanese Super Mario and Mario Sunshine logos, it used the English Splatoon logo instead of the Japanese logo. A few days later, after the image had been featured on many prominent gaming sites, the image was revealed to be fake. The creator of the fake leak came forward and released a full-quality version of the image. Another substantial rumor broke in the same month. According to Spanish site Revo Gamers, Nintendo and Disney were working out a collaborative deal involving games, toys to life, and even movies. Disney allegedly wanted Mario to appear in Disney Infinity, and they also wanted Nintendo characters for use in their films. Arguably, the biggest part of the deal was a game featuring both Mickey Mouse and Mario. Nintendo was apparently open to the deal as a whole and the game, and were negotiating terms. Revo Gamers had previously put out accurate information on several amiibo before they were announced, as well as Activision using Nintendo characters for Skylanders. This positive track record added some authenticity to the rumor, but nothing more has surfaced online since the article was published. One particularly vague rumor came from an unusual source. In 1993, soda pop company Faygo Beverages ran a Mario-themed advertising campaign as a tie-in with the live-action Super Mario Bros. Movie. In October 2017, while sharing a photo of some of the Mario-themed drinks from this campaign on their Instagram page, the company proposed that an unfound reference to Faygo Beverages existed in a Mario game. While no details were forthcoming, fans theorized that any such Easter egg would likely be hidden in Super Mario All-Stars, Mario's Time Machine, or Mario is Missing. This is because all 3 games were released around the same time as the marketing promotion. At E3 2017, Nintendo revealed plans to bring DLC to The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. This was a new direction for Nintendo, and fans wondered if the company was also planning DLC for Super Mario Odyssey. Later in May 2018, a short video emerged which seemed to show Isle Delfino as a new world in Odyssey. As many were already expecting DLC to be added to Odyssey, fans enthusiastically spread the video online and hoped it were the real deal. However, although the video was convincing, the level geometry in the video clearly used the same models as the one found in Sunshine. This didn't line up with Nintendo's mode of operation, as they typically recreate levels from scratch when adding throwbacks to new games. Because of this, the video was ultimately deemed a fake. Other recent Nintendo games have seen fake leaks. Camelot have demonstrated some impressive post-launch support for Mario Tennis Aces, adding new characters every month for a whole year. This expanding roster led to speculation about which characters might be added, and in late 2018, some data miners tried to confirm the lineup themselves. One data miner uncovered several unused alternate costumes, and evidence that Baby Mario would be added to the game, with green and yellow costumes that reference Luigi and Wario. And according to the Twitter account Mario Tennis Club, another hacker reported that Link would be added as a playable character, with unlockable Dark Link and Champion's Tunic skins. However, Mario Tennis Club later tweeted that they'd put too much stock in the report and found no evidence to suggest Link would be coming to the game. Since the leaks, there's been no announcement surrounding Link or Baby Mario being added to the game. Did you know that a 2.5D Mario title was rumored to be coming to the GBA near its launch? Or that there was supposedly going to be a crossover between Mario and Kingdom Hearts? In this video, we'll cover these rumors and lots more, so make sure you stick around until the end. In 2019, we made a video that delved into the history of Mario rumors, and at the time, we thought the video was fairly comprehensive. But since then, we found even more rumors from Mario's past, and a few new rumors popped up since we made that initial video. So, we're back to complete our retrospective on the history of Mario rumors, and we're starting with a tall tale from all the way back in the early 90s. During the height of the Super Nintendo's success, Super Mario World was rumored to have a bonus Moon World, similar to the game's Special World. The rumor even seemed to stem from an official source, an issue of Club Nintendo magazine in Australia. According to the magazine, not only were players able to visit a moon in Super Mario World, but they could also go to the moon in other titles like Super Mario Land and Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. In reality, up until this point, the only Mario title with a moon-themed level was Super Mario Land 2. There's obviously no Moon World in Super Mario World, or any indication of one being planned in its game data. The rumor lived on though, and was prevalent enough for several ROM hackers to create mods of the game featuring moon-inspired levels. Another rumor from the 90s claimed that Bowser has, or at one point had, a wife named Claudia Koopa. According to the rumor, the character was first revealed in an article from a UK version of Nintendo Power. A supposed image of Claudia even circulated online, adding to the hearsay. However, this image comes from an issue of the Nintendo Comic System, where a page from Bowser's high school yearbook is shown. This unnamed character is never stated to have any sort of relationship with Bowser, and was likely just a visual gag. An additional part of the rumor is easily proven false, as there never was a magazine called Nintendo Power released in the UK. The country's Nintendo-based magazine has had several names, such as Nintendo Official Magazine and Official Nintendo Magazine, but never Nintendo Power. There's even evidence that the idea of Bowser having a wife named Claudia came from a Mario fan site. The creator of the site Lemmy's Land made a character called Claudia for their own fan fiction to act as Bowser's wife. And as the Mario Wiki points out, the webmaster has always openly stated that Claudia was their original creation. So it seems that someone saw Lemmy's writing and tried to make up a rumor about Bowser having a wife, then made it harder to fact check by saying the information came from the UK. One magazine that was quick to report rumors back in the day was Electronic Gaming Monthly. In their gaming gossip segment, EGM's Quarterman would report a handful of rumors in the industry in each issue. One of these rumors told of a brand new Mario and Donkey Kong game coming to the SNES. Quarterman would go on to talk about how the game was a 16-bit remake of the arcade version of Donkey Kong with new scenes and better graphics. While no such game was ever released, it's interesting to note that a reboot of the arcade Donkey Kong game came to the original Game Boy only 2 years later, which featured remade levels as well as a handful of new worlds to explore. It's also possible that word somehow got out about Donkey Kong Country, as the game's intro has an homage to the original Donkey Kong. Quarterman would follow up with another Mario rumor 2 years later, this time about Nintendo's Super Mario launch title for the Nintendo 64. They reported that the game would be filled with action, flying sequences, and most notably driving segments. Super Mario 64 would ultimately include some action and flying sequences, but no driving mechanic was ever present in the final game. While Quarterman reported this all to be in one game, it is once again interesting to note that Mario Kart 64 would come to the system only 6 months after the N64's launch in North America. As for this rumor, it seems possible that someone at EGM, or one of their informants, may have seen footage of Mario Kart 64 without context, and assumed it was part of Mario 64. Or maybe we're giving someone too much credit and it was just an outright lie from a rumor monger. One piece of hearsay from the early 2000s came from a screenshot from a supposed new Yoshi game. The image, which features a purple Yoshi in a vaguely Yoshi Safari-styled environment, was apparently first seen in an old IGN Pocket News article. IGN didn't give much information about the screenshot's origins, simply stating they received the image from a Japanese correspondent of theirs. A higher resolution version was posted onto their forums, and rumors about it grew from there. The word going around was that the game may be a sequel to Yoshi Safari for GBA, and that it had N64 level graphics. No additional images or footage of the game has ever been found, and the image is thought to either be a legitimate Nintendo tech demo shown behind the scenes, a mock-up made for Japanese magazines, or simply be a hoax. This was far from the only rumor posted in the early 2000s. In the E3 demo for Luigi's Mansion, the UI included a clock that was always visible on the Game Boy Horror, with the player being booted out of the game when the clock hit 1:30 AM. This timer led players to believe that Luigi's Mansion was originally planned to be a timed mission, with rumors circulating that Luigi would vanish alongside Mario if he wasn't saved in time. This simply wasn't the case, however, and the timer was just a way to keep E3 attendants from playing the demo for too long. Another rumor involving Luigi's Mansion also said that more portrait ghosts can be found in the game's Safari Room. The rumor comes from an official copy of Nintendo Power, claiming that if Luigi met the ghost of a hunter, he'd want to add Luigi to his collection. Since then, many have tried to find the ghost, but to no avail, and the blurb in Nintendo Power is believed to have been a joke. In July 2002, a trailer emerged for a title called Super Mario's Universe, which would apparently be coming to the GBA. The game was said to be taking Mario back to his 2D roots, but opted for a very different visual style compared to the rest of the series. It showed various Mario characters in a cel-shaded world that utilized 3D graphics on a 2D plane. The trailer presented a few of the game's levels, as well as a boss fight with Bowser similar to the ones seen in Super Mario 64. Though very impressive for the time, the game was clearly fake. The visuals in the trailer were far too elaborate for GBA, and its biggest downfall, the fact the trailer was edited with an audience watching it live. Several sleuths found that this audio was taken directly from a different game reveal at Space World 2001, demonstrating that at least the audio was a forgery. It was eventually revealed that the leak was made by Pablo Belmonte, who would go on to make the Super Mario Galaxy DS trailer hoax we talked about in our last Mario Rumors video. Many Mario rumors involving the GameCube stemmed from Nintendo's Super Mario 128 tech demo. One hoax attempted by Blaze the Hedgehog showed off a fake picture taken at an E3 convention floor. The image showed a single frame of Mario in a basic 3D world. The leak was immediately debunked, as Mario's model is the exact same model from Super Smash Bros. Melee. Blaze admits to making the hoax and explains that the background was actually made using Doom map creation tools. Blaze Hedgehog also went on to make an April Fool's hoax for a new Super Mario Bros. 2. The screenshot this time around shows Mario in an environment similar to the original Super Mario Bros. 2, with Shy Guys being a common enemy and doors and plants being rooted to the floor. Blaze would go on to say that this hoax was more for fun and that they were done making hoaxes that were truly meant to fool people. Though most rumors were about core Mario titles, Mario's spin-offs got a handful of rumors as well. One rumor started out as a tip submitted to the fan-driven website Insider by reader Jason Blake. Blake reportedly emailed Harmonix Music, creators of Dance Dance Revolution and other Revolution games, about the possibility of Karaoke Revolution getting a Mario Mix title in the same vein as Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. According to Blake, Harmonix responded with, "We're delighted to hear that you enjoyed the games. If there were a GameCube version in the works, we wouldn't be able to talk about it until it was officially announced by our publisher, Konami. Such announcements are common at the E3 convention in May. Wink." The email was interpreted by some as a tease that Harmonix would have something to show at that upcoming E3. However, to this day, no follow-up has been made to the Revolution with Mario series. Mario rumors obviously hit the Wii as well. In 2007, EGM once again reported a new crossover for Mario, this time with Square Enix's Kingdom Hearts series. The game, titled Mushroom Kingdom Hearts, would apparently take Sora, Mickey, and many others from the first two Kingdom Hearts games into the Mushroom Kingdom. The game would also introduce not just Mario characters, but over 41 Nintendo characters as a whole. Despite this emphasis on Nintendo content, the game was apparently set to be both developed and published by Square Enix. But if the photoshopped Super Mario Sunshine art didn't give away the fact this announcement was bogus, the fact it was published in EGM's April issue should have. However, this didn't stop many fans from thinking it was real and taking to online message boards only to be told it's a hoax by their peers. Another unique Mario crossover was rumored for the plumber, but this time with Norton Antivirus. In November 2008, Kotaku reported that Norton would be releasing a gaming edition of its antivirus software, which would have been used to help optimize a user's PC for gaming. The image Kotaku published in the article featured a Norton Antivirus box with Dr. Mario and various assets from the sub-series featured front and center. Interestingly, Kotaku never mentions Dr. Mario in their article at all, or even Nintendo. Despite this, other websites reposted the image, believing it to be an official Dr. Mario and Norton crossover. But of course this wasn't the case, and to this day the origin of the image is unknown. One Mario rumor was actually started by Nintendo by complete accident. In 2011, Nintendo announced that anybody who purchased the 3DS before its famous price drop were eligible to redeem free NES and GBA games for their system system, as long as they logged into the eShop before August 12th and updated their device. This promotion was known as the 3DS Ambassador Program and was meant to reward early adopters of the 3DS. In an attempt to remind players to redeem the games, Nintendo shared a screenshot of Super Mario Bros. 3's Time's Up screen on their Facebook page as a reminder to users who hadn't applied yet. Although most people saw this for what it was, a simple humorous reminder, many saw it as a teaser, believing Mario 3 would be part of the Ambassador Program. But the game never came to the program, with the only NES Mario title given away being the original Super Mario Bros. In January 2011, GameFAQs user FunkyKong84 noticed that IGN UK listed Rosalina as a part of Mario Sports Mix's roster, and described how to unlock her. According to the post, Rosalina would be unlocked after players beat every minigame in basketball, volleyball, hockey, and dodgeball in that order. The fact that you had to complete the challenge in a specific order seemed unusual to many, as Mario games very rarely expect players to accomplish strings of specific tasks to unlock content. As it turns out, the information was an inaccurate fan submission, and IGN UK would later update their website to remove the Rosalina listing, but not before many would actually try to unlock her. Another sports game Rosalina was reported to be in was Mario Tennis Open. In an issue of the Japanese Nintendo magazine Nindori, a segment dedicated to Mario Tennis Open provided readers with a QR code that would allow them to unlock a black-colored Yoshi. An image of this page appeared online, with Rosalina's head pasted over the code. Rosalina's head over the QR code, as well as many other Super Mario Galaxy elements in the game, led many Western players to believe Rosalina could be unlocked in the game, or maybe added in a future update. This was idle speculation and was simply untrue. But there was some truth under the surface of it all. In an interview with the game's producer Shugo Takahashi, Shugo revealed that Rosalina was actually intended to be a part of the game to represent Mario Galaxy, but couldn't be properly implemented. As a concession, Luma was added to the game instead. That wasn't the only handheld Mario hearsay. Super Mario 64 DS was set to have an unused minigame, and there was apparently hidden data to support this claim. In the game's data for the minigames, files named Wrecking Crew were set to exist, but went unused. This naturally led a few data miners to believe a Wrecking Crew-based minigame had been planned at some point. This speculation would then spread onto a few Mario message boards. Upon further inspection, however, the cutting room floor user Rusty found that Wrecking Crew was nothing more than the internal name for the Coincentration minigame, putting an end to the rumors. In 2015, a video of what appeared to be a 3DS remake of the Thousand Year Door circulated online. The video showed a 3DS loading the game and a title screen that added 3D to Thousand Year Door's logo. The video was only a few seconds long, and despite being well made, the dubious nature of its appearance and the low video quality had many users suspicious from the get-go. Despite this, many believed it, and the video gained a fair amount of traction. It wasn't until about a week later that the user who uploaded the original video, Fawful the Great 64, took down the video and released a confession about the leak being fake. In the video, Fawful explained that they didn't expect the leak to get nearly as much attention as it did, which is usually what most hoaxers expect. When Super Mario Maker 2 was shown off in May 2019, it was revealed that the option for making a level in the Super Mario 3D World theme was put in its own category labeled Additional Themes. It didn't take long for players to speculate about more themes being added to this category, with one popular theory being a theme for Super Mario Bros. 2. This seemed to be a logical assumption, seeing as Mario 1, 3, and World all had themes of their own. This was followed by former editor of Game Informer Imran Khan tweeting out that he'd heard about Nintendo making a Mario 2 theme before the COVID-19 pandemic, with the theory going around that the theme was never finished because of issues adjusting to lockdowns. Items from Mario 2 were added to Mario Maker 2 in the game's final update, but a Mario 2 theme never came. Whether Nintendo actually planned for a Mario 2 theme to be added will continue to remain a mystery. That is, unless they choose to spill the beans. In October 2020, a supposed anti-piracy screen was found for Mario Party DS. The screen was first shown off by YouTube user Joey Perleone and showcased one of the title's minigames being interrupted by the anti-piracy screen. It displayed the message "Piracy is no party" and advised the player to power off their system and report the stolen software, with Mario and friends locked behind bars on the bottom screen with the text "Power off now." The video was so convincing that it was taken at face value, and some even added it to the cutting room floor page on the game. It wasn't long before an administrator for the website, Kaito Sinclair, updated the page with the note that stated that the Mario Party DS page would be protected due to excessive vandalism. criticism. As you likely expect, the screen was entirely fake. Joey would go on to create more videos about fake anti-piracy measures in Mario Party DS, and somewhat set a trend for the creation of fake anti-piracy screens for many Nintendo games from then on. One common way games are leaked these days is in the form of online shop listings. In April 2020, Amazon France listed that Super Mario Odyssey would be coming to both the Switch and PC, with listings for Sega and PlayStation titles alongside it. The leak included no info on the game and a complete lack of images. This leak would later go on to be debunked by many other companies, such as Sega and Sony, who confirmed that their games wouldn't be coming to the platform, which in turn deconfirmed Mario Odyssey's coming to the PC. That said, a Sony title would be announced for the PC that same year, with Horizon Zero Dawn's Complete Edition being announced for PC just a few months later. The Mario Odyssey leaks didn't stop there. Another alleged leak hit Twitter, complete with screenshots of what appeared to be a development build of an upcoming sequel. One image showed Mario in a very early version of an unknown kingdom, with one more showing him using a canoe going down a river. The screenshots also showed off a UI similar to Mario Odyssey's, as well as a debug menu. The screenshots had originally begun to circulate after being posted on 4chan. The first screenshot was soon debunked by the Twitter account Forest of Illusion, who revealed the images to be fake. They were first shared on a Discord server, then later posted onto 4chan by one of the server's members. The second image, however, has no known origin, with some claiming it was first shared around 2018. Another interesting detail is that both the second screenshot and Mario Odyssey share the exact same debug menu, which was seen during E3, but the leaked screenshot shows even more options. Regardless, no news has surfaced on a Mario Odyssey sequel since, and the images are almost certainly both fake. One rumor hit Twitter after Jeff Grubb, who's associated with leaking gaming news early, simply tweeted Super Mario RPG, but this seems to be the end of his association with the rumor. Some thought Jeff was hinting at some sort of news leak, but then another Twitter user named Sharito724 replied, adding fuel to the flames. Sharito said they had information about a sequel to the Mario RPG games, and that the game would be revealed soon alongside the release of the original Super Mario RPG on Nintendo's Switch Online app, which has NES and SNES games to play. We can't say exactly why Jeff Grubb originally tweeted Super Mario RPG, but it's fairly obvious that Sharito's reply was entirely fabricated, either by them or someone who gave them false info. In late April 2021, the Twitter account Cut and Obscure Video Game Content tweeted that New Super Mario Bros. Had unused game data for a ghost enemy with the file name Scrupulous Fingor. The account also claimed that when asked about Fingor in an interview, series creator Shigeru Miyamoto completely disregarded the question, appearing visibly upset. The tweet gained over 5,000 retweets and had several other users chiming in stating that Fingor was also cut from many other Mario games, including Super Mario 64 DS, where the character was planned to be a boss. Thankfully, most people quickly realized this was a joke, and the Twitter account in question was a parody account. That said, many took the tweets at face value, believing Fingor was an actual cut enemy from the series. Another enemy who was caught up in confusion was Bowser himself, specifically his appearance in Super Mario 3D World's bonus add-on Bowser's Fury. A rumor started up with Twitter accounts stating that Fury Bowser's official name in Japan was actually God Slayer Bowser. The rumor seems to have multiple origins, but it all starts on Twitter, with the name being spread by retweets and word of mouth. Again, many Twitter users took these tweets as gospel. The rumor was fairly easily debunked, however, as checking Nintendo's official Japanese website for the game officially lists the new form as Fury Bowser, and many Nintendo-focused websites corrected the viral tweets, setting the record straight. Over recent years, there's been many rumblings of a new Mario Kart title in the works, with several rumors specifically mentioning a Mario Kart 9. During January of 2021, a 4chan user posted about a brand new karting title coming from Nintendo, but that it wasn't specifically Mario Kart. The leak was later posted to Reddit, and was said to be a new Smash Bros. Style crossover with many Nintendo franchises joining the race. They also shared that characters like Mario, the Ice Climbers, and Breath of the Wild Zelda would be in the game, and that a new tackle mechanic would be added. Only a few weeks later, another leak hit 4chan, this time with a handful of Nintendo titles. The post mentioned games like Skyward Sword HD, a new 2D Metroid game from Mercury Stream, and of course Mario Kart 9, with no details for the game other than the fact that it could be a possible early 2022 release. While Skyward Sword HD and Metroid Dread were both revealed during Nintendo Directs in 2021, giving the leak some credibility, Skyward Sword HD and a new 2D Metroid game have been rumored long before this post. closed. The post ultimately fell apart after it attempted to leak inaccurate reveals such as Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden and Matoi from Phantasy Star Online 2 as playable characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A third leak for the game appeared in May 2021, this time of what appeared to be artwork for an unknown Mario Kart title. The art was first shared onto 4chan and quickly made its way to Reddit. The artwork was swiftly tracked down, however, and revealed to be promotional artwork for Nintendo's Mario Kart-themed ride in their Super Nintendo World theme park. Mario Kart leaks kept coming, and in the same month a new rumor for Mario Kart Maximum hit 4chan. The leak claimed that Mario Kart Maximum would have every track before Mario Kart 8 playable and fully remade, with the exception of Super Mario Kart tracks keeping their 16-bit look. The leak went on to list off a full roster of characters from Mario Kart's past, including new characters such as Captain Falcon and Kirby, with every character in the game also having unlockable color swaps and costumes. The game would even come with 2 new modes, called Party and King of the Circle. Party mode would replace all the item blocks with dice, with the dice roll determining what item the player ended up with. Holding on to dice blocks would lead to higher numbers, with a roll over 50 being a winning roll. King of the Circle, on the other hand, was a simple King of the Hill mode, where players earned points the longer they stayed within a set circle, and if it wasn't clear already, none of these Mario Karts were even remotely true. Another rumored Mario game for the Switch in 2021 was New Super Mario Bros. 3. The rumor comes from an alleged listing of the game on Nintendo's official website. The listing showed no artwork or release date for the game, and shortly disappeared after a supposed screenshot was posted on Twitter and 4chan. The rumor didn't have very long legs, however, as the creator of the listing image quickly debunked it themselves. They replied to the original tweet saying it was meant to be a joke, and was to make a point that anybody can make a fake leak, a point that is undoubtedly true. In February 2021, Reddit user Waluigi Bubsy Pluck noticed that Nintendo had recently updated the website domain for www.waluigi.com, with the URL now leading to an endless reloading website. This sparked some discussion about a pending Waluigi announcement, but it's worth pointing out that the history of this particular web domain is a bit strange. Originally, the URL was used as a promotional link that led to the original Mario Tennis 64 website. Later on, the link changed and would redirect users to Nintendo's English North American website. And as of the making of this video, the link now redirects people to 1-2-Switch's product page. It's unknown why Nintendo has changed the link so many times or why it now points to 1-2-Switch, but something few have taken note of is that Waluigi and Super Mario are the only Mario characters with official websites that Nintendo owns. If you try entering any other Mario character's name followed by .com, they usually just take you to for sale web domain sites or dead pages. Did you know? Due to the original Pokemon games' massive appeal, along with a lack of internet, many schoolyard rumors spread by word of mouth into the mainstream. Many of these rumors focused on how to find and catch rare Pokemon. For instance, players wondered if they could somehow get all 3 starting Pokemon. Just outside of Pallet Town, there are inaccessible patches of tall grass behind ledges. Rumors began floating around that wild Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander could be found in these patches, but the player would need to find the hidden HM06. This HM would allegedly contain the move Jump, allowing players to pass the ledges. However, this was easily debunked. There are only 5 HMs in Red and Blue, and although the next generation of games had an HM06, it contained the move Whirlpool. By hacking the game to access the area, named Pallet Fields by some fans, it's revealed the grass has no Pokemon at all. A similar rumor spawned due to what looked like an open path behind Bill's house. Some claimed this path led to a secret garden where rare Pokemon could be caught. According to some, the area could be reached if players got all 3 evolutions of Eevee and presented them to Bill. This rumor was false, and hacking reveals the path doesn't actually lead anywhere. There were other rumors linked to the game's NPCs. Some claimed that if players named any water-type Pokemon a curse word, Misty would slap the player. Similarly, there were claims that if players named their rock Pokemon a profanity, Brock would attack them. These rumors stem from the 2 characters' importance in the Pokemon anime. However, the anime didn't release until after the first games came out. Before this, the characters had little significance outside of their gym leader status. Another rumor said that if the player beat the Elite Four 100 times in a row, something special would happen. The most common rumor stated that Professor Oak's dialogue would change, and he'll tell the player to go on without him so he can console your rival. This would let players explore the Hall of Fame on their own. Others claim this would trigger a battle against Professor Oak. Although the rumors are false, there is data for a battle against Oak in the game's code. One rumor, though, persisted throughout the franchise's history. Even today, many Pokémon fans think the chance of catching a Pokémon increases when pressing or holding buttons. There are multiple versions of this rumor, each citing a different button or combination of buttons that need to be pressed or held, such as tapping A or holding down and B after a Pokéball is thrown. With the release of Diamond and Pearl for the DS, this rumor evolved once again. Players claimed they could tilt the odds in their favor by shouting "Gotcha" into the DS's microphone as a Pokémon is about to be caught. Some players also believed that snapping their fingers or saying "snap" or "snap out of it" into the mic when a Pokémon is confused would help them snap out of its confusion. Likewise, they believed saying "wake up" when a Pokémon was asleep would help wake it up. These rumors likely came about due to other parts of the game utilizing the microphone. One common rumor is that the music for Lavender Town caused psychological damage to children. Supposedly, several children in Japan took their lives after hearing the music. This was apparently due to binaural beats that affected the way children think, resulting in psychological and physical harm, as well as suicidal tendencies. Some also stated the theme was altered after the game's initial release in Japan. This rumor likely stems from the Lavender Town music being creepy. Fact-checking the rumor using early internet was difficult, as translations of Japanese media in the West was scarce. There are also variations of this rumor, but all either lack evidence or have been outright debunked. One of the most persistent urban legends in Pokémon history was that Mew could be found in Red and Blue. In Vermilion City, near where the SS Anne is, a truck can be found parked on the docks. Possibly due to the truck's uniqueness, many players came to believe that not only could this truck be moved, but that Mew was hiding underneath it. Some claimed the truck could be moved using HM04, Strength. Others asserted that it had to be moved with a level 100 Machamp, or that a key card was required. Some rumors also stated it was necessary to set sail on the SS Anne and later make it return. In actuality, there's no way to move the truck, and there's no way to obtain Mew in the game outside of official giveaways, trading, and glitches. The impact of this rumor led to it being referenced in actual Pokémon games. One enemy trainer in the quick battle mode of Pokémon XD, Gale of Darkness, references finding Pokémon under a truck as a line of a song. And in the first remakes of Red and Blue, Fire Red and Leaf Green, a hidden lava cookie could be found near the truck. In the Switch remakes, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, a revive can be found once a day next to the truck as well. There were other less popular rumors about catching Mew. If the player registers all 150 available Pokémon in their Pokédex, not including Mew, they can go to the Game Freak room in the Celadon City Mansion to receive a certificate. Some believe this certificate could be traded in somehow for a Mew, or traded for keys to open the aforementioned truck and capture a Mew. Other rumors stated the Japanese game would straight up award the player a Mew instead of the certificate. Another even lesser known method said players could buy the Magikarp near Mount Moon, name it Mew, and leave it at the daycare until it's level 49. From there, Magikarp would evolve into a Mew at level 50. Clearly, all variations of these tales were false. While Mew was a real Pokémon, many rumors spread about entirely fake ones. Speaking of Magikarp, a somewhat persistent rumor said the move Splash had a 0.001% chance of landing a one-hit KO. However, Splash has no chance of hitting at all. Players were most likely mistaking the move for Struggle, which Magikarp can perform once Splash runs out of PP. In their April 1999 issue, Expert Gamer magazine shared a secret trick that could be performed in Red and Blue. The trick required players to trade a Dratini from a copy of Pokémon Red to a copy of Blue, and both copies needed a complete Pokédex of all 150 Pokémon. The player would then evolve Dratini into Dragonite before trading it back to Red. Then, by traveling to the lowest floor of the unknown dungeon near Mewtwo, and using a Firestone on the Dragonite, it would evolve into Yoshi from the Mario series. The secret trick, written by J. Esther, was meant as an April Fool's prank, but that didn't stop some players from believing it. This led to further rumors that stated Yoshi could be caught using the missing number glitch. This was also false. Again, in April 1999, a Pokémon hoax was posted on Nintendo's official website. The site showed how to make Lickitung evolve into Luigi from the Super Mario franchise. Luigi was supposed to be given the 160th slot in the Pokédex and had moves Wrench, Cower, Mustache Slap, and Family Reunion, which would summon Mario and Yoshi. He was also given the exclusive Plumber typing. To pull off the evolution, players had to catch a Lickitung with an Ultra Ball and keep the Pokémon in their active party. The player would then have to go to where Snorlax was blocking the bridge in Vermilion City, turn their Game Boy upside down, and use a rare candy on Lickitung, evolving it into Luigi. Of course, this was another April Fool's prank. There was an entire series of fake Pokémon passed around the internet, usually with some incredibly difficult and convoluted method to acquire them. Dubbed Pokégods by fans, many of these monsters were complete fabrications, such as Tricket, the cricket Pokémon. According to the story, the player must make their way through Victory Road and defeat the Elite Four using only a team made up of Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree, Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill. Upon their victory, Professor Oak would supposedly offer them the legendary Pokémon Tricket. This rumor was easy to debunk, as none of the listed Pokémon were capable of learning the HM moves required to make it through Victory Road. Other complete fabrications include the Pokémon Doomsay and its evolutions Doomsday, Millennium, Anthrax, and at least a dozen more prominent fakes. Other Pokégods were said to be evolutions of existing Pokémon, such as various additional forms of Eevee. Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise all supposedly had evolutions known as Saposaur, Charcolt, and Raynor. These Pokémon, along with over a dozen others, could allegedly be acquired with the use of an item known as a Mist Stone. This stone was said to evolve any Pokémon in the game, but as you probably expect, the item never existed. Some Pokégods were evolutions of legendary Pokémon. Since the original games contained Mew and Mewtwo, many assumed there'd also be a Mew 3. When images from Pokémon the first movie were shown on Western websites, some mistakenly believed Armored Mewtwo was in fact a new Pokémon, the rumored Mew 3. These images were often untranslated or lacked context, which added to the rumors. Some were posted before the film was even announced in the United States. Of course, Mew 3 didn't appear in the film, but this didn't stop rumors from continuing. There were several claims that Mew 3 could be caught in the games, often by completing a near-impossible task or perform actions that deleted the player's save data. Mew 3's prevalence continued past the original games. Some believed the reveal silhouette of Lucario was Mew 3, and others thought Mega Mewtwo Y was Mew 3 before it was shown to be a Mega Evolution. Urban legends about Mew 3 have led to the creation of several fan works, such as the ROM hack Pokémon Chaos Black. And although Mew 3 is a fake Pokémon, it's been referenced multiple times in official Pokémon media. The creature was name-dropped in Pokémon the first movie, where a scientist working on Mewtwo states, "Now we can start on Mew 3. Another instance can be seen in Chapter 25 of the Pokémon Pocket Monsters manga, where Red's Clefairy has its DNA mixed with Mewtwo's. The resulting creature calls itself Mew 3. Some fans added to the Mew 3 rumors, saying the Pokégod Mew 4 also existed, but these rumors failed to catch on. Several of the Pokégods were actually just new Pokémon coming from the upcoming second generation, something that was well known in Japan but only rumored in the West. One of the most enduring Pokégods was the so-called Pika-Blue, a water-type evolution of Pikachu. Evidence of Pika-Blue's existence in Red and Blue was taken from a mistranslated line of dialogue, where an NPC remarks to the player that the Raichu that was traded to them evolved. In actuality, the Pika-Blue was just Marill, the second-generation water Pokémon. This rumor looped back around to the Pallet Fields rumors, where many alleged Pika-Blue could be caught. Several more Gen 2 Pokémon were said to be catchable with incorrect names, such as Ho-Oh, Snubbull, and Togepi, among others. Several unused beta Pokémon were also said to be obtainable, such as Pika-Flare. This Pokémon was based on fan art of a creature from the Gold and Silver Space World demo. The art was based on the unused fire starter that was later replaced with Cyndaquil, but since the fan art vaguely resembled Pikachu, fans assumed it was a fire variant of Pikachu. Of course, all these Pokémon couldn't be caught in the original games. Pokémon Yellow had a few rumors of its own, often revolving around Pikachu. Some fans believed that if they beat the Elite Four with only Pikachu in their party, the next time the Pokémon leveled up, it would learn Surf. This rumor almost certainly arose from the Surfing Pikachu minigame in Pokémon Yellow. The rumor may have also gotten momentum from the Surfing Pikachu Easter egg in Pokémon Stadium, which released 4 months after Yellow in America. Another rumor alleged that if the player's Pikachu was so happy that it loved them for a full 90 days straight, it evolved into a Raichu. Some also believed that if the player got the maximum score in the Surfing minigame, Pikachu would evolve. These were all false. Speaking of Pikachu, rumors also circulated around the Nintendo 64 Hey You Pikachu. The game used a microphone peripheral that let players talk to Pikachu directly. The game had a recognizable vocabulary of words that Pikachu would react to in various ways. The limitations of the technology weren't very well understood at the time, and people assumed that Pikachu could understand far more than what it actually could. Rumors began to circulate that saying Sega, Sony, or PlayStation into the game would make Pikachu angry, referencing the rivalry between Nintendo, Sega, and Sony. It's become far easier to data mine games in recent years, and as a result, evidence has been found to debunk these claims. The game has a library of recognizable words listed within its data, and this library contains no references to rival game companies. Some speculate that these rumors may come from the game misinterpreting the words Sega, Sony, or PlayStation as something that's within its library, which would prompt a reaction from Pikachu. Another N64 Pokemon game that attracted the rumor mill was Pokemon Snap. The game has two endings, one for beating the game, then another after obtaining Mew. However, there were rumors of a third ending if the player beat all the challenge scores after obtaining Mew. This rumor was easily debunked by just beating all the challenge scores. Although the first generation of Pokemon games had the most rumors surrounding it, later games had their fair share. When it came to Pokemon Gold and Silver, many rumors popped up about the mythical Pokemon Celebi. Rumors spread that Celebi could be found near the Ilex Forest Shrine, and that if players brought the Rainbow Wing and Silver Wing, Celebi would appear. This rumor was recently commented on by Game Freak staff, who at the time were very confused by the rumor. The team never attributed any significance to the shrine. While nobody at Game Freak explicitly remembers why the shrine was put there, Celebi's designer, Hironobu Yoshida, had a theory. During this era at Game Freak, designers would use tiles from certain objects to add details and accents to others. The shrine itself is clearly made up from parts of a signpost and some roof tiles, and may have been put there just to make the area look nicer. Despite Game Freak's initial confusion, the team seemed to have referenced the rumor in the Pokemon Celebi event in Pokemon Crystal, which released a year later. There were other rumored ways of getting a Celebi, such as the Unown method. The Unown are Pokemon that come in various shapes, with each shape corresponding to a letter in the Latin alphabet. Because of this, people believe spelling out messages with the Unown could unlock things within the games. Fans believe that catching all 28 Unown, spelling out Celebi in their party, and using Cut on the Forest Shrine would make Celebi appear. Another rumor said that collecting every Pokemon besides Celebi and Mew would grant the player a GS ball, which they could use to catch Celebi. These rumors were easily debunked by completing the described tasks. Another Pokemon associated with the second-gen games is the shiny Gyarados found in the Lake of Rage. Knowledge or understanding of shiny Pokemon at the time wasn't widespread, which led to rumors of other colored Gyarados. Some rumors told of a gold Gyarados that could be caught by surfing to various places in the game. Although false, the rumor may have been inspired by Magikarp's shiny palette, which is gold. There was also a long-running rumor about Shuckle in Pokemon Gold and Silver. If Shuckle is given a berry to hold, there's a chance the berry will change into another item called Berry Juice. However, many players claim that having Shuckle continue to hold Berry Juice long enough would change it into a rare candy. The rumor continued to persist even after the reveal of the DS remakes Heart and Gold and Soul Silver in 2009. The rumor was ultimately debunked by data miners who analyzed the original games' code and found no reference to such a secret. Another common rumor was that Chansey's egg could fall off and become a Togepi. This seems to be based on nothing more than Togepi being egg-shaped and Chansey having an egg. The second-gen games also had a slew of other minor false rumors, such as the existence of an HM08 and HM09, an event to catch Mew in Gold and Silver, and a rumor that Celebi could evolve. After the release of Pokemon Crystal, several Pokemon were also featured in Super Smash Bros. Melee. One of the Pokemon that appears from a Pokeball is Goldeen, but as in Smash 64, Goldeen simply flops around, dealing no damage. However, Goldeen's trophy in Melee states Goldeen's Horn Drill is so strong that it can KO an enemy with one strike if it connects. Fans mistook this as a hint that Goldeen could also use Horn Drill in Melee. Rumors spread that there was a tiny chance of Goldeen performing Horn Drill, which would instantly KO enemy players. However, data mining has turned up no evidence of this, and such an attack has never been seen publicly. By the early 2000s, internet speeds that allowed the sharing of images and short videos had become more common. This ease of access led to many hoaxsters trying to pass off their own creations as legitimate Pokemon content on fan sites, often as an April Fool's gag. In April 2000, Pokemon Abode posted news of a 3D Pokemon game for the upcoming Dolphin system, which would later be named the GameCube. They posted 3 screenshots which they were allegedly shown at the Tokyo Game Show by Nintendo. However, these screenshots were actually edited pre-release screenshots of the upcoming PS2 game Dark Cloud. A year later, in April 2001, Pokemon Abode posted news on Pokemon for the Game Boy Advance. Nintendo had apparently revealed 3 new GBA games at the Tokyo Game Show titled Pokemon Earth, Wind, and Fire. A GameCube game that links to them called Pokemon Unite was also said to be there, and would be an online RPG similar to Phantasy Star Online. Each game had 37 Pokemon, 3 of which were shown, and new dual Pokemon, which were essentially fusions. However, this was another April Fool's gag by the site. In April 2002, other sites tried their hands at fake reveals. Pokemasters.com posted 3 Pokemon that supposedly came from Japan's CoroCoro magazine. The Pokemon were a panda that resembled an Ursaring, a hammerhead shark, and a rock creature. Later in November 2002, fake Pokemon fan art was passed off as legitimate leaks around early message boards and fan sites. The art speculated on what Ruby and Sapphire's starters might evolve into, but was passed off as real. After the release of Ruby and Sapphire, players began spreading rumors about the Space Center in Moss Deep City. Supposedly, when the number of rocket launches rose to a specific number, usually 100, players could board the rocket and ride it into space. Various versions of this rumor said that players would either go out into space or land on the moon, and usually had the option to catch either Jirachi or Deoxys or both. Although this rumor was fake, when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire released, players could fly into space on Rayquaz's back, which led to a battle against Deoxys. It's possible this sequence was inspired by the rumors for the original Ruby and Sapphire. There were also rumors about Latias and Latios. Some believed they live atop the battle tower, and that if players got enough wins, they could go there and catch the duo, which were often said to be level 100. In April 2005, a Pokemon hoax fooled many thanks to its impressive art. The fan site PokemonFrance.com posted a magazine scan showing a new DS version of Hey You Pikachu. The scan showed a never-before-seen Pokemon called Korechu alongside existing monsters. Of course, this was an April Fool's, and the site later admitted it was a joke. By this point, Nintendo had officially announced Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. The internet became even more mainstream, and speeds had improved. This made sharing media a lot more efficient and resulted in a slew of online rumors and fake leaks being posted for Diamond and Pearl. The first fake Pokemon for Gen 4 were posted in April 2005. 2 Pokemon called Chisume and Uzukara were said to be featured in Diamond and Pearl and were posted on many fan sites and tripod pages. They were believed to be real by many, but in hindsight were clearly fake. After fans learned the game would feature a pre-evolution of Sudowoodo, many believed a fake scan of Bonsly was real. However, it was simply a fan's prediction of what the Pokemon would look like. Another Pokemon believed to be in the upcoming games was Chance. This Pokemon, which was thought to be a pre-evolution of Chansey, was revealed via a magazine scan of a trading card. When a higher resolution image of the card was posted, it became clear the Pokemon was fake. Its only attack translates as April Fool. In April 2006, an episode of Bulbagarden's podcast, The Bulbacast, was released. The episode revealed 10 new Pokemon names found via trademark applications, including Porygon 3 and a possible evolution of Sudowoodo. The podcast also revealed the games would have a desert-inspired region and feature a true crossbreeding feature that would produce hybrid Pokemon. They even alleged the game would feature a trading card game within it. But of course, this was all an April Fool's joke. Starting in July 2006 and leading up to Diamond and Pearl's Japanese release in September, a surprising amount of fake Pokemon were spread online. This included fake magazine scans showing silhouettes of a new Deoxys form and an evolution of Lickitung. Both of these scans were shown to be fake, as the Japanese text around them don't even relate to the pictures. Later in July, a fake CoroCoro screenshot of a Magmar evolution surfaced. Electivire had recently been revealed in Japan, and this fake was seemingly trying to pass as legitimate thanks to Magmar's association with Electabuzz. From here, 3 fake sets of starter Pokemon made the rounds. There was a popular rumor at the time that the game starters wouldn't be water, grass, and fire types, and instead would be fighting, psychic, and dark types. Fake Pokemon around this time tended to follow this theme, with each rumor feeding on the last. There was also a fake trading card of an electric Pokemon called Kissanda. However, the card was quickly found to be a hoax thanks to its incorrect copyright dates. Most other fake leaks were of new Pokemon in confirmed family lines. This included a pre-evolution of Lucario and an alleged final evolution of Turtwig that's clearly the wrong size and style. There were also multiple fake evolutions of Piplup and Chimchar circulated by hoaxsters before Diamond and Pearl's release. Did you know? After the release of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, the YouTube account Pokiance uploaded a video of an encounter with a legendary Pokemon named Purge. A few months later, the channel uploaded a second video that showed Bidoof evolving into Purge. These videos were well-made hoaxes for the time and garnered about 8 million views combined. This Pokemon was actually a sprite of the OZ-12 SMS Taurus from the game Super Robot Wars W. Since this game only released in Japan, Westerners had little knowledge of it, and were more likely to believe the videos. This wasn't the only hoax in 2007. In April, Maryland.com posted a box art and game details for a third Pokemon game to go along with Diamond and Pearl. The game was titled Pokemon Zircon and had several changes to the story. Giratina would have a larger role in the game, and players would encounter the Pokemon before battling the Elite Four. There was a new area called the Challenge Area, which had Pokemon XD-style simulation fights. However, the next day, Maryland admitted the post was an April Fool's joke. The next month, Nintendo officially announced Pokemon Platinum, which led to a few more Pokemon fakes. The website PokeBeach reported that an alternate Sky form to Shaman would be in Platinum, and shortly after, a leak surfaced. However, the leak turned out to be fan art. The artist printed it to gloss paper, then photographed it and posted it to 4chan. Fans assumed the art was legit and spread it across the community. It eventually made its way onto popular Pokemon sites, which prompted them to come forward and confirm they faked the art. In April 2009, the Palette Tribune podcast announced a new Rotom form had been leaked, and that people who called Pokemon USA would hear a message from Team Galactic. The team would ask the caller to state their Pokemon friend code, then ask what evil deeds callers would do if they were given one of the 100 Rotoms up for grabs. As you might expect, this was an April Fool's prank by the podcast. In January 2010, a new generation of Pokemon games was officially announced for the DS. From here until the game's release in September, a large amount of fake Pokemon were passed off as the real deal. In May, silhouettes of the starting Pokemon were posted by Nintendo, which led to a few fake starter Pokemon being spread. Several fans took the silhouettes and made Pokemon based on the shapes. One of the more popular pieces was posted on several sites as legit, likely because it was of a higher quality than most other fan art at the time. Another set of starters spread in May, likely because they were relatively convincing fakes. However, the text in the scans were very basic Japanese, which was a red flag. After the starters were officially revealed, several fans made fake evolutions of them. The most prominent of these was an Oshawott evolution from a fake scan. Not only did the fake leak have high-quality full art, it also showed a convincing screenshot of the Pokemon. However, the artist came forward admitting it was a fake Pokemon. This was followed by a series of alleged leaks from message boards like 2chan and 4chan, which were usually based on existing info. One leak had 6 Pokemon names and descriptions, including a warlike bipedal turtle and an angel Pokemon. Another fake leak teased starter evolutions, and another fake leak said Black and White would have an evolution of both Golduck and Jinx. Yet another leak showed a dozen names, including fake names for an evolution of Pidove, a pre-evolution of Galvantula, and an evolution of Minccino. Another rumor told how the seasons would change in Black and White. The rumor said seasons cycled on a weekly schedule. However, the seasons changed month to month in the final game. The rumor also stated the game had a new attack called Seasonal Beam, which changed type based on the season. This was also false. A fake Korokoro scan of several known and unknown Pokemon began to spread in July 2010. Many fell for the hoax, partly because several Pokemon it featured had been officially shown off a week earlier. The image included a fake evolution of Chimecho, a fake Skull Pokemon, and a fake pre-evolution of Cofagrigus. Later in August, 2 fake screenshots popped up which gained traction. People believed the Pokemon were real because Darumaka was confirmed as legit around the same time the screenshots surfaced. However, both screenshots turned out to be fakes circulated on 2chan. Shortly after this, another Korokoro scan was posted showing a mix of official and fan-made art that was taken at face value. The image contained a now infamous fake fish Pokemon called Giruja, as well as a fake silhouette of Deerling. A clue to the scan's fabrication was its inaccurate depictions of Alamomola and Pansage, which were based on a leaked image of an unfinished Pokemon toy. Descriptions of 4 new Pokemon leaked later in the month. The monsters were a water and psychic-type dolphin, an ice and fighting-type polar bear, an honor-based Pokemon, and a long-ear Pokemon. While Black and White did include a polar bear Pokemon, Beartic isn't fighting-type at all. Whatever this rumor got right seems to have been a lucky guess. Shortly after this, several websites posted scans from the latest issue of Korokoro taken from blogs and boards. Although some of the media was legit, these sites accidentally included fake pieces of art showing a fake evolution of Woobat. This fan art was posted by the artist and then circulated on 2chan and was passed off as real. Just before the game's release, a fake Korokoro scan of Pansear and Panpour surfaced, along with fake screenshots of an Axew evolution. When the game finally hit shelves, both of these were shown to be false. Before the games were released in North America, eager players heard about an item in the Japanese game known as swimming goggles. Supposedly, when held by a water-type Pokémon, the goggles would increase some of the holder's stats by 1 stage. However, if the goggles were worn by any other type of Pokémon, they would fall asleep. This rumor caused a mild panic in the competitive fan base, as such an item could potentially create an unbeatable strategy. When the game released in the West, no such item was to be found. The game has been heavily data mined since its release, and no evidence of the goggles exists. Rumors also arose about shiny versions of several legendary Pokémon, specifically that the Pokémon Zekrom, Reshiram, and Victini can be found in their shiny forms in black and white. Shiny sprites of these Pokémon can be found in the game's files, which led to some players believing they could be acquired somehow. No giveaways or in-game events took place, however, and while shiny Zekrom and Reshiram could be found starting in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, a shiny version of Victini has never appeared officially in a Pokémon game. The presence of their shiny sprites in black and white was just a failsafe to keep the games from crashing if someone hacked a shiny version. In January 2011, GamingUpdate.com reported that a new Pokémon game was in development for the Wii. While at CES, the website staff apparently met a Nintendo representative that mentioned a Wii title similar to Gale of Darkness, and speculated if it'd connect to Black and White. The site elaborated, saying the game would be a cross between Gale of Darkness and Battle Revolution. However, no such game was revealed. In April 2011, rumors surfaced about an actual remake of Gale of Darkness for the 3DS. That month, Dengeki Nintendo Magazine announced a new Pokémon game would be revealed in May, which hyped up the fanbase for a big reveal. A few days later, a reader of a 3DS blog sent in magazine scans announcing Gale of Darkness for 3DS. However, keen-eyed fans pointed out a few oddities in the scans. Some of the Japanese was unusually worded, and the 3DS model in the images was a pre-release model from E3. Immediately after, more images surfaced. The images showed a Pokémon Mystery Dungeon game focusing on Pokémon from Black and White. Again, fans pointed out that the Japanese in the scans was out of context, debunking the images. After Black and White had released, fans speculated on a potential Pokémon Gray version. Every generation of Pokémon up to this point had a third game release that combined aspects of the previous games and made improvements. However, in February, a Pokémon rep told Spanish outlet Meristation the generation would end with Black and White. But Nintendo registered PokémonGray.com a few months later. This seemed to confirm the game's existence to fans, but domain purchasing is sometimes done to protect an IP from exploitation. A month later, scans from Korokoro surfaced that teased a new form of Kyurem, which fans took as a hint towards Pokémon Gray. However, no Pokémon Gray was released. All rumors about Gray were put to rest when Nintendo announced Pokémon Black 2 and White 2 in January 2012. Years later, Black and White director Junichi Masuda explained why Game Freak never made Pokémon Gray. Masuda told Game Informer, "The concept of Black and White was kind of these opposing forces, a yin and yang kind of thing. If we went with Gray, it would have moved away from that concept. There was far less buzz around Black and White 2 than most Pokémon games. That said, they still had rumors. In mid-April 2012, a magazine scan showing a piece of art and game sprites for 2 Pokémon was passed around several fan sites. The Pokémon were a cactus owl named Saburo and a platypus-like Pokémon called Kawanoashi. Although the scan was promising, the artist that made it came forward, confirming it as fake. A few months later, another scan surfaced showing a new form of Victini. This form would be the Pokémon's stellar form, but as you might expect, the form was absent from Black and White 2 upon release. In January 2013, an anonymous source contacted GoNintendo.com with information on a title called Pokémon Rainbow. The game was apparently a love letter to the franchise and would encompass the settings and Pokémon from the first 4 generations. As a 3DS game, it would have improved graphics with a dynamic camera, and battles apparently looked very different. The game's story would also take place at the same time as Pokémon Black and White 2. It'd have over 20 new Pokémon, including an evolution called Draconion and a pirate-themed rodent called Verbal. The game would also release alongside a dedicated Wii U app. When Pokémon X and Y were announced the same month, this rumor was essentially debunked. Curiously, it seems that Pokémon Sun and Moon's codename may have been Niji, but the game has no resemblance to the original rumor and is likely unrelated. After the announcement of Pokémon X and Y, artwork of a new Pokémon appeared online. Named Kaenchu, from the Japanese word Kaen meaning flame, it was supposedly a fire-type evolution of Pikachu. Images of Kaienchu quickly became popular on Japanese social media, being retweeted thousands of times and becoming the number 4 trend on Yahoo Japan. Shortly after this, the Pokémon was shown to be a prank from members of the Japanese message board 2chan. A month later, a Korokoro scan made the rounds showing 2 new Pokémon, a bird and a worm. Although the art in the scan was convincing, the Japanese text was fairly poor, showing it was fake. Shortly after, another scan popped up of 3 new Pokémon, including 2 dinosaurs and a ghost. A few days later, more scans surfaced showing new Pokémon and the player characters. While the scans were generally easy to disprove thanks to the art, a full scan of the male player character fooled many. The scan was posted on several sites as a legitimate leak, but was ultimately shown to be fake. March 2013 saw a large amount of fakes. Early in the month, an image of Heracross and Pinsir pre-evolution circulated, but the creator of the image admitted it was fake. This was followed by a scan of 2 new Pokémon, as well as different form of Pikachu and an evolution of Farfetch'd. However, this scan had incorrect Japanese and was shown to be a forgery. Naturally, one fan created fake evolutions of X and Y starters. These were posted on several forums and social media. Another scan showed up shortly after, featuring a Jinx evolution called Rugiria. At the end of the month, an image leaked showing a trading card of Chespin's final form. However, this image was edited. The original showed a Teddiursa and an Ursa ring. April 2013 started off with an obviously fake scan of a Light-type Griffin Pokémon, followed by a fake evolution for Sableye, complete with inaccurate Japanese. A pre-evolved form of Drowsy was also posted on several blogs and social media as legit leak, but the image turned out to be a fake from 2chan. A few days later, another scan featuring an Absol evolution went viral on Reddit, but this also turned out to be fake. In June, a rumor popped up on 4chan from someone who apparently knew a marketing supervisor for Pokémon. The anonymous someone said X and Y would have a new flying/fairy type Pokémon called Elveny. They also said that Dunsparce, Mawile, Stantler, and Sableye would get new evolutions, and also gave a false description for Pangoro, a Skelp evolution, and incorrectly said Clauncher would evolve twice. They also said the second gym leader was named Kale, and used fairy types. Shockingly, the rumor was entirely false. In July, concept art for a Fennekin and Chespin evolution was posted on several message boards. Although convincing, the designs were shown to be from DeviantArt, and seemed to be inspired by other fan Pokémon and Digimon. A popular scan showing an evolution of Skrelp leaked the same month. However, this was also shown to be fake. The weeks leading up to X and Y's launch were hectic and full of rumored Pokémon. One rumor alleged that the next issue of Korokoro would feature 2 new Pokémon. One of them would be based on a bag of potato chips, and the other a sushi roll. The rumor also said there'd be a second evolution besides Sylveon. Shortly after, PokeBeach.com posted a rumor from a quote reliable source. The rumor said X and Y would have several new Pokémon, including a monster with tusks called Trusk, a ghost spider called Aparachnid, a porcupine and badger Pokémon, and a pre-evolution of Meowstic called Esper. The rumor also stated that the Chansey, Dunsparce, Clefairy, and Togepi lines would change to Fairy type. Although some details of this rumor turned out to be true, it was largely inaccurate. In September, scans from Korokoro spread across social media. They showed Heracross and Gengar Mega evolutions, as well as the evolved starters. These were traced back to 2chan, however, and proven to be fake. This was followed by a few scans for a Mega Mewtwo X and a Mega Mew. Although Mega Mewtwo X appeared in X and Y, this design was fake, as was Mega Mew. Around the same time, images from a magazine showing a bug and flower Pokémon made the rounds on social media. They were followed by a Mega Banette silhouette, all of which were fake. Just 2 weeks before X and Y's release, images of a mink-based Pokémon popped up on 4chan. The art was consistent with both the title's promotional art and in-game graphics, and was largely considered genuine. However, an artist came forward the next day showing how they made the hoax. After X and Y's release, there were rumors of a Pokémon Z. In May 2015, many Pokémon fans misunderstood an update from the Japanese site Pokémon Line. Fans used inaccurate tools such as Google Translate to view the site, which caused the misunderstanding. Pokémon Line mentioned a rumor that Pokémon Z would be announced in an upcoming issue of Famitsu, but fans thought the site was confirming Pokémon Z's appearance in the magazine. When the next issue of Famitsu was published, there was no Pokémon Z. In January 2014, DualPixels.com reported a rumor about new games called Pokémon Plus and Minus. They would take place in a region based on Southeast Asia and focus on themes of tradition versus exploration. The story's villains would be a team of religious zealots who believe the protagonist's best friend is the reincarnation of a chosen one and want to sacrifice them to awaken the game's legendary Pokémon. The region's central mainland would function like an MMO, allowing players to trade and chat with each other worldwide. Several new Pokémon were also detailed. The starters would include a water-type humanoid with a jar on its head, a fire goat, and a plant-like creature with a leaf for a face. The new legendaries would be a lion with several faces and a many-armed ghost Pokémon. The rumor attracted a lot of attention when it was first published. However, the fact it was stated to be in development for the rumored Nintendo Fusion, a handheld and home console hybrid system, meant Plus and Minus were debunked as soon as the Nintendo Fusion was shown to be a hoax. On April 1, 2014, Azuraland.com reported an announcement of Pokémon Black and White 3. Game Freak had apparently decided to go back to the Black and White games due to the underwhelming performance of Pokémon X and Y. The game was set to be released for the DS, not the 3DS, and since the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection service was planned to stop in May, the game would feature no online battles or trades. This, of course, was an April Fool's joke. In May 2014, Nintendo officially announced remakes for Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. Shortly after, a magazine scan showing Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza fusing into a single Pokémon showed up online. Around the same time, a scan showing Rayquaza fused with Palkia and Dialga from Gen 4 also popped up. These of course were fake, but were taken at face value by some fans. With a new game being announced, several artists drew up examples of Mega Evolutions for their favorite Pokémon. However, some of these evolutions were passed off as legitimate leaks. One prominent image showed a fake Mega Sceptile, and another showed a Mega form of Klinklang. This second fake scan was a parody, however. The Japanese text translated as, "I bet you can't even read 2 words in Japanese," and "eat this bullshit up." On April 1, 2015, Azuraland.com announced Pokémon Zero and Infinity with an accompanying teaser trailer. At the same time, PokeJungle.com announced Pokémon Temporal Diamond and Spatial Pearl also with a teaser. These were, of course, April Fool's jokes. It wasn't until February 2016 that Pokémon Sun and Moon were announced, sparking more rumored Pokémon. In March, a collage showing 9 Pokémon was posted on message boards. The art apparently came from a 4chan thread that was deleted by the site's staff, which added to its legitimacy. These were followed by a sketch of 2 Pokémon, a moth and what appeared to be a grass-type bird. Curiously, this grass bird surfaced months before Rowlet's reveal. Around the same time, a set of starter Pokémon were posted across fan sites and social media. The starters actually came from a Pixiv gallery and were posted before Sun and Moon were even announced. Another set of starters popped up in March. Korokoro scans had supposedly leaked early, showing a water lizard, grass goat, and fire bear among other game details. There was another popular 4chan leak in March. One user said they'd seen many details of the game, including the entire dex. The person claimed the game's region was called Charona, and they drew the region's dex from memory. As expected, it was highly inaccurate. In fact, every Pokémon shown before the game's starters reveal were fake. On March 30th, 2016, PokeJungle reported on supposed leaked images from a Pokémon Company presentation that had surfaced on Twitter. Among the slides was info on Pokémon Go and Pokémon Shuffle, as well as a new version of Pokémon Dash for mobile. A few days later, PokeJungle came clean, admitting they'd faked the presentation and screenshots of Dash themselves as an April Fool's. In late April, designs for 3 starter Pokémon popped up on 4chan. The designs were surprisingly close to the actual Sun and Moon starters, being a grass bird, a sea lion, and a fire cat. However, they were debunked when Sun and Moon's first trailer dropped. Shortly after the reveal, a Japanese artist drew evolutions for the starters. This art was taken out of context and passed off as a legit leak on social media. In June, a rumor emerged about the possibility of Sun and Moon giving Pokémon 5 move slots instead of 4. A member of Reddit noticed an E3 screenshot had 5 lines in the moves menu, suggesting 5 moves. However, the 5th line was for hold items. Another set of fake starter Pokémon made the rounds in June, but these were disproven fairly quickly. This was followed by an alleged leak from E3, where a source claimed they took pictures of art behind closed doors. The images showed a set of pygmy-inspired Pokémon, but due to the art style and the fact they came from 4chan, they were dismissed as fake. In August, a fairly in-depth rumor surfaced. The rumor promised several new Alolan forms for Pokémon, such as Paris and Parasect, Coughing and Wheezing, Solrock and Lunatone, as well as Arcanine. These details, along with most other info in the rumor, turned out to be totally inaccurate. This rumor was followed by fake art for 3 new Pokémon: a fighting lobster, a haunted snowman, and a Pokémon that was an evolution of a previous fake which was yet to be debunked. Another leak showed a manga panel for Rowlet's evolution, but this was also fake. When Rockruff was revealed in Korokoro, the magazine showed the Pokémon's 2 evolution paths. The magazine also said the starting Pokémon would also have a secret. Because of the context of the statement, fans assumed Sun and Moon starters also had 2 final forms for each Pokémon. However, this was a misunderstanding fueled by a few mistranslations, and clearly not the case. The weeks leading up to Sun and Moon's release saw lots of rumors about Alolan forms. 2 back-to-back rumors popped up on 2chan, claiming Korokoro would reveal a fighting-type Alolan Ekans and Arbok, as well as an Alolan Electric/Fairy Electabuzz, and a Fire/Grass Magmar. When Korokoro released, these Pokémon were nowhere to be seen. A post also popped up on 4chan showing images of an Alolan Cubone, Persian, and Mantine. Although an Alolan Persian appeared in the final game, all the images shown were fake. This was followed by an Alolan Jigglypuff, which unsurprisingly was also fake. On the same day Pokémon Sun and Moon launched, Eurogamer reported on a new game called Pokémon Stars for the Nintendo Switch. Stars would be an expanded version of Sun and Moon, similar to games like Pokémon Emerald, and was said to be in development at the same time as Sun and Moon. Despite being on different systems, Stars would feature 3DS connectivity so Pokémon could be traded between versions. The game was scheduled for release in mid to late 2017, but the project never materialized. In a follow-up article, Eurogamer explained that Pokémon Stars had been cancelled due to Nintendo's desire to support the 3DS. The early success of the Switch meant they didn't need a Pokémon game to push sales, so work done on Stars was rolled into Ultra Sun and Moon. While many claim to have seen behind-the-scenes evidence, it's hard to say whether Pokémon Stars was ever a real game in development, or to what extent it was actually developed. In April 2017, Azuraland.com claimed Pokémon Stars would have a holiday 2017 release, and feature over 20 new Alolan forms including Dragonair, Dodrio, Jynx, and Alakazam. They also said Stars had a new story featuring Necrozma. On the same day, Brazilian fan site Pokemothim.net also reported on Stars. They claimed Stars was set 5 years after Sun and Moon, and that gyms would make a return, as would the Sevi Islands. However, both of these updates were April Fool's jokes. After Ultra Sun and Moon were announced, hopes of Pokémon Stars were squashed. This didn't stop rumors about new Pokémon, however. In October 2017, a popular rumor spread stating several Alolan forms would be added to Ultra Sun and Moon. These were Alolan Oddish, Gloom, and Vileplume, which would be Poison/Fairy type, and an Alolan Parasect that was a Bug/Ghost type. These rumors lined up with another rumor that claimed Team Rocket would return to Pokémon. When screenshots of Team Rocket in Ultra Sun and Moon popped up, the rumored Alolan forms seemed more legitimate. However, when the games released, there were no new Alolan forms. By late 2017, new Pokémon games had been confirmed for the Nintendo Switch. Not much was known, however, leading to speculation and rumors. One prominent rumor came from a Chinese source which had predicted Team Rainbow Rocket being in Ultra Sun and Moon. The source claimed Chinese localizers had finished translating the game's script. The game would also have no new Mega Evolutions, but Z-moves would return and be activated by motion controls. The plot would focus on a conflict between tradition and innovation, and be in a region inspired by Spain or Italy. The game would release in late 2018 or early 2019, and have a simplified battle system similar to the Digimon World games. Although this rumor got some details correct, it's clear the source didn't know the new games were Gen 1 remakes. More rumors detailing new Pokémon soon followed. Images from a Chinese message board spread across social media depicting 3 new Pokémon. These were allegedly starters from the upcoming Pokémon game for Switch. The Japanese text around the images seemed machine translated, however, casting doubt on them. A month later, another set of starters surfaced. The images were very convincing, and the Japanese text around the art was natural and accurate. The next day, however, the person who made the art came forward in a Facebook post. Another rumor hit at the same time, and was more cryptic than usual. The rumor was that the next set of starters would have something to do with the hero from Dragon Quest VIII, a Labyrinth, and Sha Wu Jing from Journey to the West. However, all these rumors would be confirmed as fake when Nintendo announced Pokémon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee as the next Pokémon games for Switch a few weeks later. In March 2018, rumors of a new Eeveelutions came up once again. In the first trailer for Pokémon the movie, The Power of Us, a trainer holds her Pokéball up to the sky. The trainer's Pokémon was later revealed to be an Eevee, which led to speculation about what the scene meant. Some fans assumed a flying Eevee would be revealed. Shortly after, merchandise for the film was marketed with blocked-out spaces, presumably covering a yet-to-be-revealed Pokémon. However, no new Eevee form appeared in the movie. In May, two popular rumors emerged on 4chan. The first rumor said the Let's Go games weren't remakes and took place in a completely new Kanto. It also said there'd be new Pokémon and new forms for non-Kanto Pokémon. Pikachu and Eevee were said to have new evolutions. Pikachu could evolve into Gorochu, and Eevee would get a normal type evolution. The rumor also said catching Pokémon would be like it was in past games, all of which were false. The second rumor stated the games took place in Kanto and elsewhere, and that Kanto would be completely different. The region was apparently broken into pieces of island by a catastrophe. The games also had new Pokémon, including a snake legendary connected to the Kanto disaster. Catching Pokémon would apparently be harder, and not very similar to Pokémon Go. The game would also have the original Kanto starters, with Eevee or Pikachu given as a gift later. The evil team in the game wouldn't be Team Rocket, and version differences would be the biggest the series had ever seen. The rumor finished off by saying Diamond and Pearl remakes were in the works for 2020. This rumor gained popularity due to a previous rumor that came with a logo and name leak. However, the post got many details wrong. In July 2018, PokeShopper.com's Twitter account announced a new set of official merchandise showing all 9 Eeveelutions plus a mysterious 10th charm. Fans believed this extra charm would be an extra Eevee form which would possibly appear in the Let's Go games. Weeks later, however, this 10th charm was revealed to just be Pikachu and Eevee together. Another Eevee rumor popped up soon after. A promotional video from 7net Shopping showed a steel case pre-order bonus for the Let's Go games. The case's art showed elements relating to Eevee's various evolutions. Some fans believed the dark crystals at the bottom of the case didn't match up with any of Eevee's evolved forms, and wondered if a new Pokémon would be announced. However, this crystal was there to represent Glaceon's ice typing, and was likely made gray to stand out against all the blue and purple already in the image. Another rumor just before Let's Go's release stated each game would have a different champion, red for Pikachu and blue for Eevee. A new small pink whale Pokémon could be received by connecting to Pokémon Go, and players could be other trainers like Sabrina in the online hub by beating them in the campaign. Upon release, this was proven false. Another 4chan rumor surfaced around this time. The poster claimed to have images of Meltan's evolved form, which had never been seen at the time. The quality of the image made the rumor questionable. However, surprisingly, the art resembled Melmetal's actual design when it was revealed. The art is believed to be a lucky guess. In February 2019, a rumor surfaced on 4chan about a new set of games, Pokémon Kingdom Red and Green. These games would look like the original Pokémon concept art and have a new system that makes Pokémon behave in a realistic way. Pokémon would also gain experience slower to make the game longer, and the game would have a large semi-open world covering multiple regions, including the new Chubu region. The poster accurately predicted some elements of a video tweeted out by the official Pokémon Twitter account before it was released, giving some legitimacy to them. However, the actual rumor is entirely unsubstantiated as of right now, and there's more reasons to doubt than believe it. Did you know? Although some of the earliest rumors about Zelda games have been lost to time, a handful have been documented in physical and online media. One prominent rumor about the first Zelda claimed that it had a third quest. If the player beats The Legend of Zelda, or names their character Zelda on the first playthrough, they'll be able to play a slightly altered version of the game known as the second quest. The rumor alleges that if the second quest is beat, a third quest will be unlocked. This claim was even taken at face value by Nintendo's official magazine in Sweden, known as the Nintendo Video Spelklubb. In the 6th issue of the magazine for January 1989, there's a segment that reads, "Have you heard that there's a third quest? Yes, there is. After clearing the second quest, you're returned to the beginning where everything looks the same, but after a while you will notice that things are no longer the same as they were in the second quest. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and explore quest number 3. However, this rumor was entirely fake, and no third quest exists in the game. There was eventually a third quest of sorts released in the form of BS: The Legend of Zelda for the Super Famicom's Satellaview add-on, but this wasn't until 1995. Another prominent rumor stated that it was somehow possible to equip Link with a Santa suit, though some rumors reported this as a set of pajamas. This claim likely originated from one of Link's hit frames. When Link takes damage, he flashes a various range of colors, including white and red, which is very reminiscent of Saint Nick. As you might expect, it isn't possible to unlock this Santa-esque color scheme in the game without the aid of cheats or hacking. Another rumor from the time alleged that you could beat the title entirely without using the sword. This claim persists to this day, possibly due to the Zelda swordless speedrunning category. However, even these runs use the sword at least once. It's only possible to make it as far as the fight against Ganon without the sword, as the player needs a sword to defeat Ganon. Another often cited rumor is that players could, by whatever means, acquire a gun in the game. There have been several variations on this story, such as acquiring a gun from the old man at the start of the game, to performing an elaborate set of tasks to possess one. Although Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link wasn't as popular as the first Legend of Zelda, it still had its rumors. One rumor alleged that Nintendo was limiting the amount of new games they sent to stores in North America in 1988. This was apparently so that demand exceeded supply, creating buzz. This would also force customers who wanted Nintendo games at Christmas to buy older titles, clearing out Nintendo's unsold stock. This rumor stems from Zelda 2 being originally planned for release in February 1988. The title was teased many times throughout the year in Nintendo Power, then called Nintendo Fun Club News, but the title was ultimately pushed back to October. In one issue of Nintendo Power, it was stated that the delay was due to a shortage of computer chips needed to manufacture cartridges. This was suspicious in the eyes of the public, as the chip shortage Nintendo mentioned only seemed to affect Zelda 2 and Super Mario Bros. 2. This led to people assuming Nintendo were lying about the chip shortage and were creating artificial demand for their products. However, this rumor doesn't stand up to scrutiny. While it may be true that Nintendo underestimated the demand for their games in 1988, the chip shortage for this moment in time is well documented. On top of this, it's estimated that Nintendo sold 33 million cartridges that year, but could have sold 45 million carts if they fulfilled the existing demand. It seems unlikely that Nintendo would willingly lose 12 million units in sales to create buzz for a few games. For The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, there were rumors about a special set of yellow clothes for Link. To unlock the rare mail, players would have to enter the Dark World, then get the magic hammer at the Palace of Darkness and immediately leave. They'd then have to beat the Swamp Palace, Thieves' Town, Skull Woods, and Misery Mire in that order, then return to the Palace of Darkness and complete it. Then, if the player went to the Ice Palace and opened the large chest, they'd have a set of yellow clothes instead of blue ones. This rumor was clearly false and could be disproved simply by completing the proposed steps and finding the standard blue mail. Surprisingly, the claim was featured on several prominent cheat websites throughout the late 90s and 2000s, but most sites have since deleted the rumor. Just as a quick aside, we won't be talking about the Chris Houlihan room or any similar secrets in Zelda games. The existence of the room was publicly announced in a contest where the winner would get a secret room named after them in a future Nintendo game. Although there was some speculation over how to find the room, we don't feel that we can class the situation as a rumor. This is because the room's existence was clearly communicated by Nintendo in advance, and was implemented as described, a secret room. To make sure our rumor videos are consistent, we need to define what a rumor is, and we believe a rumor needs to either have a questionable point of origin, or a questionable authenticity from its inception. Whether or not the Houlihan room existed has neither. Again, it was also included as described. Being the first portable Zelda title didn't stop Link's Awakening from getting its share of rumors. The final dungeon of the game takes place in the Windfish's Egg, which starts with an empty room leading into a second room with a pitfall. This second area is almost entirely floorless, but there is a ledge on the other side of the room beside a doorway. The ledge is unfortunately inaccessible, but this didn't stop fans from speculating what could lie beyond it. Some believe that the room led to the true final boss, and some thought the door led to a secret ninth instrument, or even another dungeon. However, the room leads to nothing. Another rumor about Link's Awakening stated that a topless mermaid was hidden in the game. This claim surprisingly has some truth to it, and may have stemmed from players who imported the Japanese version of Link's Awakening. Although the mermaid Martha is in all versions of the title, the Japanese game has a more lewd tone. In the English game, Martha emerges from the water after Link has brought her a lost necklace. In the Japanese version, Martha emerges after Link brings her a bra. The implication in the Japanese game is that Martha wouldn't come out of the water until she was able to cover herself up, implying she was naked. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was an ambitious game for its time, and the title's popularity and depth made it an ideal target for rumor mongers. Rumors about the game usually stemmed from a misunderstanding or hoax, and were easily debunked. One prominent rumor involved the Running Man, who appears frequently running around Hyrule Field. The player can race the Running Man with the goal of beating a certain time, but it's impossible to actually beat him to the finish line. After Ocarina of Time's release, rumors began spreading that it was possible to beat the Running Man. These claims persisted for over a decade, culminating with a 2009 video by YouTube user Rusty Sporks, which showed them winning the race. Rusty Sporks claimed to have started a race, then traveled back in time by 7 years, then waited 7 years in-game. Since Ocarina of Time's days are 4 minutes long, the player would have to wait about 7.1 days in real life. After waiting for 7 years, the Running Man would finally meet Link on the bridge in defeat. This, however, was fake. Players have tried all kinds of tactics to beat the Running Man, such as hacking the game to speed up Link. However, the game is programmed so that the Running Man will always beat the player by at least 1 second. There's also no dialogue in the game's ROM in the event of the player beating him. Another rumor, which emerged shortly after the title's release, claimed the game had a hidden cheat code that made everyone at the Lon Lon Ranch naked. Allegedly, game translator Dan Owsen claimed there was a secret code in the game that would cause Malon, Talon, and Ingo to become naked. Fans asked Owsen to publish the code after this rumor was posted on the fan site Closet of Hyrule, but Owsen denied the code's existence, and also denied that he'd ever mentioned such a code before. Several other sites claimed the secret could be unlocked without a code, as long as the player followed a long list of 66 steps. The steps ask the player to do seemingly meaningless tasks all over Hyrule, and almost comes off as comical. In 1999, the admin of Closet of Hyrule admitted they'd created the rumor themselves, and asked Zelda fans to stop messaging Dan Owsen for the code. Some players also posted about their encounters with a mysterious pig-like enemy, nicknamed El Puerco, which allegedly had a small chance of appearing during the race with Dampé in the graveyard. This rumor was dismissed by most of the Zelda community, but it's been hypothesized that the creature could have been a glitched Re-Dead enemy. The more likely explanation is that El Puerco is a complete fabrication, as no evidence of such a creature was ever supplied. Yet another absurd rumor stated that players could somehow obtain an M16 at Kakariko Village. One version of this claim alleged that using a bomb or the hammer in a specific location in Kakariko after beating the Water Temple would unlock the weapon. Other rumors were at least partially grounded in reality. After Ocarina of Time hit store shelves, fans looked back at how the game was covered in the media and noticed several places and features were absent from the final game. As you might expect, this led to a large amount of speculation and rumors. One area that was planned to appear in the 64DD expansion was nicknamed the Unicorn Fountain by fans. It was said to still be in the game and could be reached by going through a mysterious tunnel located under the ice in Zora's domain. Early screenshots from the game also show Link performing a sword beam attack, where the player can fire a beam out of their sword if they're at full health. Since both the sword beam and unicorn area had been seemingly removed or hidden, fans speculated that the beam could be unlocked at the Unicorn Fountain. Some players also speculated that melting the ice at Zora's domain as adult Link would grant access to the tunnel that led to the Unicorn Fountain. A widely repeated method of doing this involved entering the Great Deku Tree as adult Link and finding a hammer that could shatter the ice. This can't be done in normal gameplay, however, and hacking the game to do so reveals that nothing is different if the player visits the Deku Tree as adult Link. This fact became irrelevant when some players found a way to glitch themselves under the ice in Zora's domain and found nothing. Easily the most prominent rumor for Ocarina of Time stated that the Triforce could be collected as a physical item in the game. This rumor likely stemmed from early screenshots and video, which seemed to show Link obtaining the Triforce. The final game also shows an imprint of the Triforce in the title's menu, which is significant as these outlines usually mean an item can be collected. Several possible methods of finding the Triforce were passed around, including throwing a bomb into the center of the lava pool outside of Ganon's castle, destroying all the gossip stones found in the game, and completing the title 100% without taking any damage. Some gamers even believe the Triforce could be found at the Unicorn Fountain. Several of these tales also claimed that Dark Link would appear in Link's home partway through trying to to obtain the Triforce. The Triforce rumor was given some credibility in 1999 by a series of screenshots posted on the fan site Hyrule: The Land of Zelda. The screenshots were sent to the site's owner by a person claiming to be a 17-year-old Colombian woman named Ariana Almandoz. The images appeared to show Link obtaining the Triforce in a previously unseen area of the game, which was supposedly in the Temple of Light. Ariana claimed this was possible by using the song Overture of Sages, which was apparently taught to the player by Kaepora Gaebora before young Link pulls out the Master Sword and would warp the player to the Light Temple. However, close analysis turned up several inconsistencies in the screenshots, such as Link's sword hanging on the wrong shoulder in one picture. The creator ultimately admitted the entire story was an elaborate hoax. Data mining of Ocarina has also been fairly comprehensive in recent years, and no evidence has been found to support that the Triforce can be collected or that the Sword Beam or Unicorn Fountain are in the final game. Although Ocarina of Time had a fair amount of dungeons, rumors of even more dungeons popped up several times after the game's release. Tales of a secret hidden dungeon started spreading shortly after the title's release. Players discovered that playing the Song of Storms in one spot in the Haunted Wastelands made lightning flash, which uncovered a distant pyramid-like structure. Sandstorms usually stop the user from pursuing it past the area's boundary, but cheating makes reaching it possible. Approaching the pyramid will reveal that there's no concealed dungeon, and the supposed pyramid is just a rock. A rumored second secret dungeon was often discussed by Zelda fans, known as the Sky Temple. No actual evidence, real or fabricated, sparked speculation of the dungeon's existence. The Sky Temple was rumored to exist because every sage in the game has a respective temple that the player gets to explore, all except for the Sage of Light, Rauru. Because there was no dungeon attached to Rauru in the main story, players assumed there had to be a secret dungeon somewhere in the game. As the rumor wasn't based in reality, the supposed ways to reach the Sky Temple were often outlandish. Some rumors stated that players needed to kill several hundred Style children after freezing the day and night cycle with cheats, which would summon a gigantic skeleton monster. Killing this giant apparently opened a portal to the Sky Temple. Another rumor alleged that a cow in Death Mountain would fly Link to the temple after beating the game. The previous mentioned YouTube user Rusty Sporks also made a video that only exacerbated the spread of the rumor. In the video, Link is shown under the ice at Zora's domain, where he walks into a tunnel which takes him to the supposed remnants of the Sky Temple. As you might expect, this video is fake, and no evidence of any such dungeon has been found to exist in the game's data. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask may not have been as popular as Ocarina when it launched, but it still attracted the rumor mill. Although many masks can be worn in Majora's Mask, the titular mask itself is never worn by the player in the game. This led to several rumors popping up that claimed it was possible to get Majora's Mask as a wearable mask. One rumor stated that if the player beat Majora 10 times in a row without losing a single time, and without getting the Fierce Deity mask, a Moonchild would give Link Majora's Mask instead of the Fierce Deity mask. As you might expect, there was no evidence to back up this claim, even 19 years after the game's release. At the start of Majora's Mask, the player passes an unusual twisted tree that resembles a Deku. Later on in the game, the Happy Mask Salesman teaches the Song of Healing to the player, which helps beings heal in various ways. Players eventually meet the Deku Butler at the Deku Palace, who later gives them the Mask of Sense and reminisces about his son. As the game's credits play, the Deku Butler is seen mourning beside a twisted tree, implying the dead tree was his son. This spawned rumors that the son could be restored as a living Deku somehow. The methods of restoration often involved the Song of Healing, but they were often debunked immediately. This is because the path back to the twisted tree is blocked off after the player reaches Clocktown. Despite this, it's possible to glitch back to the area or use cheat codes to go back. Unfortunately, none of the rumors gave an accurate means to revive the Deku Butler's son. Not all rumors about the game have a dark tone, however. If players go to the Astral Observatory, they might notice a caged Kuko near the telescope. Some players claimed that it was possible to free the Kuko through various means. One method was to shoot an arrow directly at the chicken, which would hit the middle of the cage, then to shoot a fire arrow, an ice arrow, and then a light arrow right at the cage. This would supposedly let the chicken loose. Due to the growing prevalence of the internet in the early 2000s, information on the development of video games was becoming more sought after, and their production was documented more thoroughly. Unfortunately, this desire for information led to rampant rumors. After The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker was first shown at Nintendo's Space World event in 2001, fans began speculating on why the game's visuals were so different to the tech demo shown in 2000. There was a rumor that Nintendo changed the art style because the tech demo looked too mature. Some people even circulated a fake interview with Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto allegedly claimed that the original direction was realistic and may have been too violent, which would scare away small children. Some fans claimed that the then unnamed game's visuals were quote simple because it was a full-on remake of the original Legend of Zelda. The animations in the Wind Waker's reveal were very smooth and fans took notice. This even led to a rumor claiming the smooth animation was due to some sort of procedural code that was linked to players having one-to-one control over Link's sword with the analog stick, similar to the Ape Escape games. A second GameCube Zelda was rumored to be in development in 2002 by the same source that claimed Link would have one-to-one swordplay. Needless to say, the images provided were laughably fake. Another rumor around this time claimed that Wind Waker's story would involve Link traveling to the underworld to save Princess Zelda. Other rumors said the story would take place before all other Zelda games, and that every character would be voice acted thanks to the GameCube having far more storage than the N64. Some claimed that you'd be able to play as other characters such as Ganon and Zelda, and there would be a two-player cooperative mode in the game. And of course, people claimed you'd be able to obtain the Triforce. These last two rumors had some truth to them, as a kind of two-player gameplay was possible with the Tingle Tuner, and Link obtains a third of the Triforce in the game. Before Wind Waker released, there were rumblings that Ocarina of Time would be coming to GameCube. Further rumors elaborated on this, claiming a 3-disc collection would be coming out containing a director's cut of Ocarina of Time with unreleased dungeons from Master Quest. The rumors also claimed this version would have graphical options that let players choose between updated or classic N64 graphics. This would also include a making-of documentary, a music collection, along with a cloth map of Hyrule, pocket watch, art book, and a character figurine. Although some aspects of this rumor never came to be, a Zelda collection did end up coming to the GameCube that included both Ocarina of Time and its Master Quest version. Shortly after the Wind Waker launched, the fan website Hylia.com reported that the game had been issued a recall. This was apparently because Nintendo hadn't properly submitted the title's content to the Entertainment Software Rating Board and had to resubmit the game to acquire a new rating. However, this turned out to be an April Fool's joke on behalf of the site's webmaster. Did you know? Perhaps the most absurd Zelda rumor ever spread around a year before Twilight Princess's release. In August 2005, IMDb was updated to include several celebrities in the game's credits as voice actors. This included rapper 50 Cent as Epona, fitness instructor Richard Simmons as Tingle, and Reggie Fils-Aimé as The Man. Back in 2005, IMDb was seen as a very credible source of information. Because of this, many websites took the updated face value and reported on it, despite it being entirely false. The earliest rumors about Twilight Princess began in 2003, when claims of a cel-shaded Wind Waker sequel were reported by several gaming outlets. From this point onwards, two competing rumors spread. One set of rumors said the game would be cel-shaded, seemingly based on Miyamoto's comments about the next Zelda using similar graphics to Wind Waker. The other claimed any new Zelda game would take on a more realistic look, spurred on by Link's inclusion in the GameCube release of Soul Calibur 2. When Twilight Princess was first shown at E3 2004, the rumors of a cel-shaded sequel were put to rest. In July 2004, another round of rumors claimed that Twilight Princess was planned to release in summer 2005 in Japan, and everywhere else at the end of the year. The rumors also claimed Link wouldn't fight Ganon this time around, but an evil army called the Horde. They also alleged the game would be called either A Link to the Darkness or Legacy of Link. None of these rumors were true, and seemed to be guesses based on what Nintendo had shown at E3. Nintendo did originally plan to release the game in 2005, but ended up delaying it to 2006 so they could fine-tune the game and create the Wii version. Later in April 2005, Electronic Gaming Monthly revealed that anyone who pre-ordered Twilight Princess would get a special pre-order bonus. Supposedly, the bonus included an entirely new version of the Wind Waker, featuring 2 dungeons that had been cut from the original game, and a complete graphics overhaul to match Twilight Princess. This, of course, was fake, and was one of EGM's infamous April Fool's pranks. In the run-up to Twilight Princess's release, IGN claimed that Hyrule took around 45 minutes to cross on horseback. Some fans misunderstood this claim, which spawned a new rumor that just Hyrule Field took 45 minutes to cross. However, both these claims were inaccurate. Hyrule itself takes about 5 minutes to cross on horseback, and Hyrule Field takes just 3 minutes. After the game's launch, a rumor claimed that beating the Wii version of Twilight Princess and watching the credits would put a Link Me in the console's Mii parade. This rumor was featured on many gaming cheat and tips websites and is even on Games Radar's Twilight Princess cheats page to this day. The rumor, however, is false. Fans once again looked back at print and online media and noticed some parts of Twilight Princess changed since it was first shown. They saw several differences to the final game, such as how it lacked the magic meter, moblins, and an entire forest area from the game's reveal trailer. This area, which became known as the Beta Forest, was a fairly open wooded area that resembled the Beta Forest cut from Ocarina of Time. Naturally, fans wondered if this area was hidden somewhere in the game, which led to rumors. Many claimed the forest was still in the game, with various reports saying it was in the game and fully functioning, with others claiming only relics of it were still there. Several videos were published online to back up these claims. Some were highly speculative and lacked an understanding of game development, and others were entirely fake. Another area that fans tried to reach was the inside of Fado's home. For the entirety of the game, Fado's door is locked. This led to rumors about a hidden way to unlock the door, and that there'd be a special reward inside. Fans ultimately found a way to glitch through the walls and get inside, but inside there was only empty black space. In March 2007, Nintendo World Report interviewed the game's director Eiji Aonuma and asked him about Fado's house. Aonuma explained that modeling and programming the inside of the home would have taken up precious development time, so they decided to make the door permanently locked to save time. Throughout the mid to late 2000s, there were an entire series of rumors and hoaxes trying to pass off fake Zelda titles as the real deal. In October 2005, an eBay listing popped up for a Zelda 3 NES prototype cartridge. The cartridge looked fairly convincing and had the title The Legend of Zelda: The Triforce Saga. The cartridge's owner, Richard Vialou, originally denied requests to test the game, saying he was too busy. Naturally, this brought the cartridge's authenticity into question, so Vialou eventually posted an image of the game's title screen. When the auction ended, the prototype's final bid settled at around $3,000 by someone named Knight7. Vialou told now-defunct gaming site Joystick.com that he believed Knight7 was connected to game developer Silicon Knights. However, Joystick were contacted by president of Silicon Knights Dennis Dyack, who denied any connection to the auction. After the whole ordeal, Zelda fan site The Hylia scrutinized the prototype and noted several issues. The biggest issue was the time the cartridge was set to be made. Although Nintendo began designing Zelda 3 in 1988, the game itself was always planned to be a Super Nintendo game, not an NES game. As you might expect, the cartridge was shown to be a hoax. Less than a year later, in June 2006, another Zelda 3 eBay listing popped up, this time being a Super Nintendo cart. The game was bundled with other allegedly early versions of games like Star Fox and Earthbound, but this too is generally regarded as a hoax. In 2005, VGMaps.com posted an overworld map of Koholint Island, claiming it was from a special Game Boy Advance version of Link's Awakening. The title was apparently a pre-order bonus for The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. The site claimed the GBA version had new challenges, such as figurines to collect, and a new dungeon that showcased the GBA's abilities. However, this was an elaborate April Fool's joke. VGMaps contributors John Leung and Ozravad remapped Koholint Island entirely using background tiles and sprites from A Link to the Past. A year later, in 2006, another Zelda game was rumored to be in development. After an initial statement from Nintendo that a Tingle RPG was in the works, the now-defunct website BUG Game revealed that The Legend of Zelda: Tingle Returns was being made. The site posted a screenshot of the game, but this was clearly a manipulated screenshot of Super Smash Bros. Brawl's Final Destination stage. Despite the image being easily proven fake and having a 2009 copyright on it despite the year being 2006, some fell for the image and spread it online. It ultimately became clear the entire ordeal was another April Fool's joke. The Tingle RPG announced by Nintendo was later released as Freshly Picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. In 2008, VGMaps once again claimed to have background art from an obscure Zelda game. The site showed assets from The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Hours. This name was often linked to the unreleased Zelda title Mystical Seed of Courage, which was the third game in the Oracles collection. The game would have released alongside Oracle of Ages and Seasons for Game Boy Color, but was cancelled due to technical difficulties connecting the three games. According to VGMaps, Oracle of Hours saw Link meeting the Oracle of Hours, Furore. She's responsible for the movement of the sun and moon, but the evil entity Prudel captures her, threatening to cause an eclipse that would awaken their evil energies. Just as Oracle of Ages and Seasons had different times and seasons to jump between, Oracle of Hours would jump between day and night. As you probably guessed, this was another April Fool's joke from the site. Again, in June 2008, a supposed leaked interview between Zelda series producer Eiji Aonuma and a journalist named Kyle was posted on several message boards, including 4chan, GameFAQs, and the IGN forums. This interview detailed the next Zelda game coming to the Wii, said to be The Legend of Zelda, Valley of the Flood, or Project Deluge. The game was apparently a prequel to Wind Waker and was to be set in a dark steampunk-inspired world. The game's story would center around a young boy who takes up the mantle of the hero of time, despite not being the true hero himself. The boy would need to save Hyrule from being destroyed by a flood, ultimately leading into the events of Wind Waker. An image also surfaced around this time showing steampunk visuals and a professional-looking logo. This added some legitimacy to the rumors, that is, until the source of the artwork was found. The original image can be found on DeviantArt and was posted in 2004. Although the rumor turned out to be false, it continued to gain popularity due to its interesting premise, and Nintendo having already teased the next mainline Zelda title a few months earlier. In April 2008, IGN released a trailer for an upcoming The Legend of Zelda film. The video seemed to come out of nowhere and appeared to be fairly well made. This is why many fans were surprised when a day later IGN announced the trailer was an April Fool's prank. The trailer was made in collaboration with Rainfall Films, who went on to make other impressive fan films such as Metroid: The Sky Calls. A few smaller hoaxes were published in the following years. In April 2009, Hyrule.net posted news about a Wii Zelda game that connected to Spirit Tracks' plot. In this game, the player would save Hyrule by sending top-secret letters to the future so future citizens could protect themselves. Past Link would send letters into the future for Future Link to deliver. The site also released some unconvincing art to go along with the post. In April 2010, the now-deleted website Zelda in My Pocket claimed to have footage of a trailer for the upcoming Zelda game on the Wii. However, the video was of an old fan film that used footage from something else. Only a month later, Zelda in My Pocket claimed to have information on a new Tingle game from Vanpool, who made the Tingle RPGs on the DS. After several posts that gave little information, the site's owner admitted everything was a publicity stunt. The game they were referring to wasn't going to be made by Vanpool, but themselves, and was a fan game that focused on the side character Kakashi. Between 2008 and 2012, there were an entire series of rumors that claimed Retro Studios were working on a Zelda title. The first was in January 2008 and alleged that a retro-made Zelda game was to be announced at E3 of the same year. However, E3 came and went with no mention of the Retro Studios Zelda project. A year later, in May 2009, the panel on IGN Nintendo's Nintendo Voice Chat podcast seemed to back up the rumor. The team stated that Retro were originally working on a Zelda project but no longer are, and almost posted the rumor themselves a year earlier. The project was apparently going to be something big, but for one reason or another, development on the title stopped. In December 2011, rumors linking Retro to Zelda popped up again thanks to a Miyamoto interview with Wired.com. In the interview, Wired brought up Nintendo EAD's collaboration with Retro on Mario Kart 7 and asked if Miyamoto would do a similar collab with a Mario platformer or Zelda game. Miyamoto finished his response by saying, "As you know, we've already collaborated with Retro for the Metroid Prime series in the past, and I think when we talk about any other franchise, Zelda might be a possible franchise for that collaboration." A month later in January 2012, users over at NeoGAF found information posted by newly hired artists at Retro Studios. One of the artists was Eric Kozlowski, who stated on their personal blog, "I'm going to work on another project that I'm super excited about. I can't talk about it too much, but if all goes well, it might just be one of my crowning achievements as an artist." Users from the message board assumed this crowning achievement was work related to Retro, and possibly Zelda. They then tried to contact Eric on Twitter, who said his crowning achievement statement was referring to illustrations for his brother's book. Some users didn't take this as an answer, however, and pestered Eric so much that he deleted his Twitter account. Another month later in February 2012, Retro were supposedly looking for FX artists and 3D environment artists with experience making hand-painted textures. This led to speculation that Retro were working on a sequel to Skyward Sword, which had released a year before. No further information was released about the rumor, and the possibility of Retro working on Zelda was seemingly squashed later that year. In October 2012, Miyamoto did another interview, this time with Game Reactor's Spanish division. In the interview, Miyamoto was asked about Retro working on a Zelda game, and replied by saying that Retro wouldn't be a suitable fit for collaborating on Zelda. After Skyward Sword art was first shown, but before the game's title and story details were officially announced, speculation ran rampant about the game. In January 2010, a list of supposedly leaked details about the project was posted on the Japanese forum 2chan. According to the leak, Zelda Wii wouldn't continue the cycle of dungeon and overworld exploration that had become the standard for Zelda games. Players would also be given the option to choose if Link would be left or right-handed, and new abilities unlocked as Link's sword increased in power. Horseback combat was said to appear often, and the player's horse would have improved AI to better avoid obstacles. The female character shown in the game's first pre-release would apparently be named Adele and would communicate with Link through his sword. The game's plot was said to involve time travel and take place either partially or completely outside of Hyrule, and the version of Link in the game would be the same one from Ocarina of Time, making Zelda Wii something of a sequel to Majora's Mask. In June 2010, just days before Nintendo's E3 conference, another leak appeared on German Zelda message boards. This supposed leak came from someone claiming to be the friend of a German-language instructor working with Eiji Aonuma. They claimed that Zelda Wii's official title would simply be The Legend of Zelda and would tell a story set hundreds of years before Ocarina of Time about the creation of the Master Sword. The leaker also said the name of the female character was Zordiana, and that motion controls would be used often throughout the game, such as for drawing symbols on doors in order to open them. The bow and arrow would also be controlled in a similar method as the archery event from Wii Sports Resort. The hookshot would return as an item, but this time it could be used to swing across gaps. The game would include 2 difficulty settings, a normal mode for casual players and a hero mode for skilled players. There would also be dungeons with no bosses inside. Lastly, the leaker claimed the game's E3 demo would feature an ice-themed dungeon, which would be the first dungeon in the game. Another set of rumors were spread in June 2011. The rumors alleged that Skyward Sword was nearly complete. They also claimed that the girl's name would be Dorella, the magician shown was called Nefibero, and was part of an evil group of sources trying to get the Triforce. Ganondorf would also be in the game as a child, and Zelda would have brown hair. The game would have a fully orchestrated soundtrack and 2 overworlds which would contrast like heaven and hell. There was apparently post-game content that never ended with new dungeons, and would release November 1st of that year. While these leaks correctly predicted some details, they were largely proven false. The female character in the first piece of artwork was named Fi, the magician was named Girahim, horseback riding wasn't in the game, and many other details about the game's dungeons and story were shown to be incorrect. A trailer for Skyward Sword was released at GDC in March 2011, and fans spotted a few frames in the video that appeared to show the silhouette of Skull Kid. While there was a resemblance to the character, this turned out to be one of the game's redesigned Skulltula enemies. In late 2011, the next major game in the Zelda series was confirmed for the Nintendo 3DS. IGN editor Sam Claiborne stated Nintendo was working on 2 new Zelda games. In January 2012, an image surfaced on 4chan showing new Japanese logos for 2 games called The Legend of Zelda Fire Prophecy and Ice Prophecy. Building on Claiborne's statement, the image implied the new Zelda project would be comprised of 2 different games, similar to Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons on the Game Boy Color. However, in early 2013, the new project was revealed as a sequel to The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, proving the rumors to be false. In June 2013, a new set of rumors emerged about the game. It would apparently be set during a time of rebuilding after the events of A Link to the Past and would feature a brand new villain. There would be at least 6 dungeons, and the Dark World would return, although altered somewhat by the events of A Link to the Past. There would also be some kind of multiplayer functionality. While some details of the leak were accurate, much of it was shown to be incorrect by the official reveal of the game. In the run-up to E3 2012, a supposed leaked list of Wii U games was published online. The list reported several new games coming to the platform, including The Legend of Zelda HD Tri-Pack, which featured Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and 4 Swords Adventures in HD. Although this rumor somewhat predicted Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD's releases, it seemed to be a lucky guess from a Nintendo fan. Not only did 4 Swords not come to Wii U, but several other titles on the list such as Final Fantasy Racing never came to be. Rumors about a new Zelda title for the Wii U were also common around this time. In 2013, the German video news site Polygamia posted an article covering details of a new Zelda game, allegedly shown by Aonuma during a visit to Nintendo. Titled The Legend of Zelda: Book of Hyrule, the game was said to take place in a modern world starring a child Link without his trademark pointed ears as he attended school and visited the library. The article mentioned features like using an in-game smartphone to take screenshots, contact NPCs, or leave messages in the world for other players to find. In August of that same year, Polygamia updated the article stating the entire story was a fabrication. It was only written to spark conversation in the Zelda community. In May 2014, rumors of a new Zelda game for Wii U emerged once again. Firstly, a list of games allegedly to be shown at E3 was shown. The list showed Nintendo's offerings for the year, which included The Legend of Zelda: Shard of Nightmare. Shortly after, a logo for the game surfaced, along with a screenshot of Link holding a torch. As you probably expect by now, the game was entirely fake, and the art for the fake screenshot came from DeviantArt. In 2015, attendees of the Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses concert in Germany had an odd encounter. After checking their Street Pass, they'd connected with someone who'd been playing The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess 3D. As it turned out, the person supposedly playing the game had modified their 3DS and edited their Street Pass information to show the non-existent game. Unfortunately for anyone that tried to access the fake Twilight Princess 3D eShop page, their accounts would be banned from Nintendo's online services. For several years starting in early 2015, rumors of a Zelda Netflix show spread. In February 2015, The Wall Street Journal reported that Netflix were working with Nintendo to make a live-action series. They also reported that Netflix was looking for writers, and that the show was in its early stages of development. Some doubted the claims, however, as the journal's source was anonymous. A month later, Time magazine asked then-president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, about the reports. Iwata denied any live-action Zelda was in development with Netflix, saying, "As of now, I have nothing new to share with you in regard to the use of our IPs for any TV shows or films, but I can at least confirm that the article in question is not based on correct information." Although this seemed to squash any hope of a Netflix show, the rumors resurfaced in 2018. In October that year, Adi Shankar, who produced the Castlevania Netflix show, made a post to his Instagram. The post said he was working with an iconic Japanese gaming company to adapt their franchise into his show. He then stated that he'd reveal which game the show is based on in November. Website The Warp claimed to know what the show was and that it was based on Zelda. However, when asked about the rumor, a Nintendo spokesperson stated, "We have nothing to announce on this topic." Rumors ran rampant until November 16th, when Shankar revealed he was making a show about Devil May Cry. At E3 2011, Nintendo showed off the Zelda HD Experience tech demo to demonstrate the graphical capabilities of the Wii U. This was the first time fans had seen Zelda in HD, and although the HD experience was only a demo, it led to some speculation about Zelda on Wii U. Later in 2011, Nintendo confirmed they were working on a new mainline Zelda for the system that had nothing to do with the HD experience. A large batch of rumors about the game began circulating in September 2012. Wii U Daily reported on info from an anonymous source, a source that previously broke accurate news of Nintendo working on the social network Miiverse. The report said that Zelda U was set for release in 2014 and that Nintendo had been working on the game since 2010. The rumor stated the game's development team was the biggest Nintendo had ever assembled, comparable to Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto team. Appropriately, the rumor claimed it was also the most expensive game Nintendo had made to date. The game supposedly had dungeons so big they were broken into 3 parts and took hours to complete. Players would use the gamepad to navigate and avoid traps, as well as follow clues. The game was said to have features like Miiverse and an online system where players can leave hints for each other. The game was said to reuse the art style from Skyward Sword, but that Nintendo were using a state-of-the-art engine built from the ground up. The title was also said to showcase things not possible on any other console. In December 2012, another anonymous source claimed to have insider info and released their own set of rumors. They claimed Zelda U would be shown at E3 2013, and although it wouldn't be released until 2014, the game would have a downloadable demo in late 2013. They too claimed the game's art style would mimic Skyward Sword's. The game's developers were apparently weighing the pros and cons of using full voice acting and whether Link should speak. The rumor also claimed that Nintendo's team in Japan wasn't expecting the romance between Link and Zelda in Skyward Sword to be as well received as it was, especially by Westerners. Because of this, they expanded on the relationship in Zelda U and looked to Nintendo of America for help. The Westerners at NOA were apparently looking to romance novels like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey for research. Although some of these early rumors were correct, they were generally inaccurate. The game didn't have massive dungeons or Skyward Sword's art style, and didn't focus on romance. It also wasn't shown at E3 2013 at all, which led to fans asking more questions and even more rumors popping up. In July 2013, rumors emerged that Zelda U would be using the HD Experience graphics engine. These rumors also claimed the game was a direct sequel to Twilight Princess, and it'd have an open world on a similar scale to Skyrim. The game was said to build on the controls of Twilight Princess's GameCube release, and that there'd be heavy use of the gamepad. These rumors also alleged that there'd be 10 dungeons, and players could do the first 5 in any order, and then the second 5 in any order. Solving puzzles in one dungeon would affect puzzles in other dungeons, and Twilight Princess art director Satoru Takizawa was set to be directing the title. The game was set to have an online co-op similar to Four Swords, and this multiplayer mode would have paid DLC. All NPCs would apparently be voice acted in the fictional Hylian language. This set of rumors in particular was highly inaccurate. In September 2014, a rumor emerged stating development of Zelda U had barely begun and that its plot was non-existent yet. The only setup was that dormant ancient machinery had come back to life and started causing problems. A river that runs through Link and Zelda's village had become tainted, making the water undrinkable and the crops weak. Instead of the usual sword and 3 items loadout, players had 1 item slot but could switch between items, even in combat. Each time the player hit an enemy, they filled a momentum bar. When filled, players could slow down time to perform precise hits. The game would have a crafting system, and Zelda would follow Link around, similar to games like Ico. The vast majority of these Zelda U rumors were disproven when the game was first shown in June 2014. When the game was shown, players noticed its incarnation of Link looked even more effeminate than usual, and wondered if this Link might be female. Later in April 2016, industry insider Emily Rogers reported on several rumors about Zelda U. Rogers had previously revealed that a Paper Mario game was coming to the Wii U, which turned out to be accurate. Rogers said players could choose between a male or female Link in Zelda U. Even though Nintendo initially debunked claims from earlier rumors, a female version of Link named Linkle was added to Hyrule Warriors. This opened up the possibility for a female Link in Zelda U once again. Rogers also claimed that Zelda U would have voice acting, but Link would remain mute. However, in June E3 2016, Nintendo reconfirmed that no female Link would appear in the game. The game's producer, Eiji Aonuma, told GameSpot, "We thought about it and decided that if we're going to have a female protagonist, it's simpler to have Princess Zelda as the main character. If we have Princess Zelda as the main character who fights, then what is Link gonna do?" A few months before Breath of the Wild's release, a rumor popped up on a blog claiming the Wii U version had been cancelled. The cancellation was apparently linked to performance issues, as shown in a supposedly leaked document in the blog post. The rumor alleged that pre-orders for the Wii U version had been cancelled and that the pre-order page at Amazon Japan had been removed. However, this was a complete lie, purposely set up by a troll. The original rumor blog post was later replaced with a GIF that mocked the journalists who reported on it. At the start of January 2018, several video game news outlets reported Nintendo had contacted them to use review quotes for A Link Between Worlds. Companies usually ask to quote reviews when they're publishing a product for advertisements or to put review quotes on the box. This caused speculation that the game might be ported to the Nintendo Switch. Some pointed out that Nintendo may be republishing the game for 3DS under the Nintendo Selects banner, but A Link Between Worlds had hit Nintendo Selects in Europe over 2 years earlier. Some thought it was strange Nintendo would bother adding it to Selects in America so late in the 3DS's lifespan. However, later in the month, Nintendo confirmed the game would be re-released as part of the Nintendo Selects line in North America. Again in January 2018, a rumor claimed that a remake of Link's Awakening was in development by Grezzo, who'd previously worked on Zelda 3DS remakes. The game was apparently a spiritual successor to Link's Awakening, similar to how A Link Between Worlds was a successor to A Link to the Past. The game was also said to take inspiration from Breath of the Wild. Although this game never came to be, it did turn out that Grezzo was working on a Link's Awakening remake for the Switch, so there may have been some truth to the rumor. Later in 2018, there were rumors of the Zelda franchise crossing over with LEGO. In August, a list of games were supposedly found on the back end of the eShop by a hacker and posted to 4chan. Among the list was LEGO The Legend of Zelda, presumably a LEGO series game that borrowed the Zelda property. Many dismissed the rumor outright, as the list was very optimistic, and some titles had bizarre names Nintendo would never use. A few weeks later, however, Kevin Hinkle, former community manager for LEGO in the Americas, made a tweet that acknowledged the rumors. Although this kept the rumors spreading, there has since been no announcement of a Zelda LEGO title. Rumors emerged after a Zelda concert in Osaka, Japan on November 25, 2018. Series producer Eiji Aonuma was at the concert and spoke on stage with concert MC Yu Shimamura. Several attendees were live blogging the event and transcribed an interaction between the two. Aonuma came on stage and Shimamura said, "I'd like to ask about secrets behind Breath of the Wild." Aonuma responded by saying, "Are you sure you don't want to ask about a Switch version of Skyward Sword?" Fans were unsure if Aonuma's response was a joke or if he was teasing a new game, which led to a slew of rumors about Skyward Sword coming to Switch. Shortly after this was reported on, Eurogamer reached out to a Nintendo spokesperson who told them, "At this time we have no plans to release The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword on Nintendo Switch," putting the rumors to rest. Did you know? As you can probably tell by the length of this video, the Super Smash Bros. Series has an extensive history of rumors. Let's start off all the way at the beginning with Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. It was rumored that Smash 64 started as a Super Nintendo game. This rumor appears to originate from some Smash wikis, where it was propagated as the truth. However, Smash 64 was always a Nintendo 64 game. This fact was proven by the series' director Masahiro Sakurai in an Iwata Asks interview when he commented on the game's prototype. Sakurai has also published the first page of the Smash 64 project proposal in his book Think About the Video Games, which backs up this point. Sakurai originally envisioned Smash as a concept with no particular characters in mind. Eventually, he decided to use Nintendo characters, believing that a console fighting game needed a recognizable cast of characters to sell. Although Smash 64 came out in a time where the internet was available, there was still a lot of confusion and misinformation surrounding the game. On November 16, 1998, IGN reported that Smash 64's roster would include Wario and Peach, and stated that characters like Diddy Kong and Bowser were expected to appear. On November 19th of that same year, Nintendo Dojo claimed that 8 characters, including Princess Peach, would be in Smash 64. They got the other 7 characters right, but Peach's inclusion was clearly false. This was before the game had an official title, simply going by Smash Bros. In general, there was a lot of excitement and confusion around who exactly would appear in this new fighting game. Even Shigeru Miyamoto, the father of Mario, was confused on exactly who'd be joining Smash. In an interview with Nintendo Power, Miyamoto stated that Bowser would be appearing in the game, but Bowser wouldn't enter the series until Melee. Interestingly, before Melee was even announced, Sakurai revealed on the Japanese Smash 64 dojo that Bowser, Mewtwo, and Dedede were all planned to appear in Smash 64, and Mewtwo had actually been worked on in-game. Every other character reported on by news outlets either stemmed from miscommunication or misinformation. Before Smash 64 was out in Europe, Sakurai and a couple of HAL employees had already began planning and prototyping a new Smash Bros. The title of the game was decided while Sakurai was at E3 in 1999, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Melee had an intense development cycle, with a grueling 13-month production period which afforded Sakurai very little time off work. Because of the relatively short and secretive development cycle, there weren't many leaks and rumors for Melee. In fact, most misinformation appeared after the game's release. Much like Mew under the truck in the original Pokemon games, these Smash rumors were often touted as truth by various websites and forum users. The first example of this involves Toad. Many believed Toad could be unlocked either by shooting all the credits or in the adventure mode. This was baseless and simply untrue. The magazine Electronic Gaming Monthly also contributed to the rumors. For their April Fool's Day issue, EGM stated that Sonic and Tails were unlockable after 20 kills in Cruel Melee. They even created a mock unlock screen that stated, "A dream has been cast. Sonic and Tails join the Melee," fooling many. One rumor that had some half-truths to it was Master Hand being playable. It is possible, either through exploiting a glitch or using devices like Action Replay, to play as Master Hand. However, he isn't accessible on the character selection screen like a regular character through normal means. Before moving on to Brawl, it's worth highlighting a major source of misinformation that existed for quite some time. A NeoGAF user named CCDNYM posted several assertions about Smash 64 and Melee's unused characters, most of which was false. Dedede wasn't the next character in line for a spot in Melee. It was Wario. Wolf also wasn't considered for a clone spot in Melee, and Leaf wasn't considered for a role as a Marth clone. Meowth and Pit were never worked on for Smash 64 either. To combat this, Source Gaming has made the definitive unused fighter list in Smash. The list has all characters that were ever considered, planned, or scrapped for every Smash game with sources to back up the claims. Unfortunately for Sakurai, Melee's roster was leaked slightly before the game's release. Steve Chardane, who at the time went by his online handle Other Steve, announced that Ganondorf had made it into Melee as a Captain Falcon clone a month before the game came out. Insider leaked the full roster, but many fans were outraged at the lineup. Most fans had no idea who Roy and Mr. Game & Watch were, and resented Dr. Mario's inclusion. Insider eventually retracted the article, explaining that they weren't 100% confident in the story. After Melee's release, however, the roster was confirmed, leaving many fans shocked. Super Smash Bros. Brawl's development faced a number of new obstacles for the series, which led to many delays. With the delays and the internet being more social, even more leaks, rumors, and misinformation emerged around Brawl than with other Smash games. Smash became much more difficult to predict, and more wild rumors suddenly seemed plausible. Despite the worldwide nature of the Smash Dojo, which was now in several languages, some parts of it were only available in Japanese. This included the Brawl ballot responses, which led to some confusion. In the ballot, Sakurai said there might be 1 or 2 third-party characters after Snake. However, many fans assumed there would literally be 2, which did not happen. Another statement that fans took literally is a quote that Sakurai didn't even say, which emerged on the Smashboards forum as an alleged translation. Sakurai supposedly replied to a comment about Muddy Mole from Nintendo's Game Boy puzzle game, Mole Mania, saying he's so interesting, he might be in the roster already. The rumor might have died here, but it was published by IGN in the run-up to Brawl's release. Another rumor, first reported by a number of French outlets, stated that Sakurai was interviewed by an unknown Japanese radio program. In it, he supposedly stated that Ridley and Bowser Jr. were planned to appear, and that the Ice Climbers and Mr. Game & Watch were cut. No other sources corroborated the existence of this radio program, and the information proved to be false. Several other Brawl-centered rumors proved to be false. These included a rival Pokemon trainer character, an alternate costume similar to Wario's overalls for every character, a playable Mega Man, and even a fake roster mock-up. Despite the numerous fake leaks regarding Brawl, some have been legitimate. The Brawl website leaked the inclusion of Lucario, Jigglypuff, and Ness with one of their pictures of the day. Jigglypuff's inclusion was later reinforced during an interview with Snake voice actor David Hayter, who joked that it would be fun to wail on Pikachu or Jigglypuff. Smashboards users Markman, Reno, and Portrait of Ruin all posted genuine information about the game's characters and stages. Smashboards user Nyasenya also correctly stated that Sonic, Olimar, and Toon Link would be playable, which veteran fighters would return, and that there'd be a total of 35 playable characters. They also reported a second delay to the game's release, and that Brawl would be on a dual-layer disc, a first for a Wii game. Many other users believed Nyasenya to be a troll, and their posts were even edited by a moderator to state they were lying. GameFAQ's user Chaos Zero also correctly reported that Wolf, Lucario, and Sonic were in the game, and that Mewtwo had been cut. They even described the mechanics of the Dragoon item originally from Kirby Air Ride, and the inclusion of a stage builder function. Like Nyasenya, many assumed that Chaos Zero was just a troll. Brawl also represented a turning point for investigating video game files. By 2008, the home brewing scene had made the Wii popular amongst hackers. Several of these hackers focused on Brawl, as many fans were curious about the game's leftover content. Data miners discovered evidence for 7 characters potentially cut from Brawl, including Dixie Kong, Dr. Mario, Mewtwo, Roy, Toon Zelda, Toon Sheik, and a character labeled Pra Mai. Many believe Pra Mai could be referring to Pokemon Plusle and Minun. Just like with every other Smash game, there were several fake and legitimate leaks for Smash on 3DS and Wii U. Before E3 2014, a Smashboards user named Ninka Kiwi claimed that several characters had new palette swaps, even posting recreations of them online. Ninka Kiwi also claimed that Lucas, Wolf, Ice Climbers, and Snake had been cut, while Dr. Mario, Dark Pit, Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings, Shulk, and Duck Hunt would be added. One of the more significant leaks was posted by Sal Romano from Gematsu. Romano first posted information on the forum NeoGAF, predicting the inclusion of Little Mac, Pac-Man, Mega Man, Mies, and characters from Animal Crossing and Wii Fit, characters very few saw coming. Previously, Sakurai had even said that Animal Crossing characters were unsuited for battle. The announcement of Villager and Wii Fit Trainer gave credence to the idea that Romano had insider information. Romano later followed up his post with an article predicting the inclusion of Shulk, Palutena, Chrom, a Pokemon from X and Y, and the Chorus Men from Rhythm Heaven as playable characters. Almost all of these characters were eventually confirmed to be in the game, with Sakurai commenting in an interview that Greninja was written simply Pokemon from Pokemon X and Y in the game's project planning documents. Interestingly, Sakurai later confirmed that Chrom was also in the project plan at one point, and they'd even developed a moveset for him. The Chorus Men appear to have been planned at some point too. Source Gaming's Push Dustin found several unused entries for characters in Smash 4's emblem database, all of which are arranged in the order of their franchise debut in Smash. Additionally, properties that have stages but no fighters are listed after franchises with playable characters. An entry for Rhythm appears before Rockman in the entries that debuted in Smash 4, implying that a character from Rhythm Heaven was once planned to be playable, presumably the Chorus Men. Interestingly, other icons imply there were once planned stages to Brain Age and Swap Note. Perhaps the most significant leak in the history of the Smash Bros. Franchise was the ESRB ESRB leak of Smash 4. This occurred when a Nintendo employee sent images and short videos of the finished game's complete roster to their friends before release. Other content shown were images and videos of potentially violent or risque content that would be of interest to the ESRB. Interestingly, the leak showcased a trophy for the Fire Emblem character Tharya that is nowhere to be found in the final release, indicating that it may have been cut due to ratings issues. The ESRB leak was first posted by a 4chan user who went by the lewd name shown on screen, and quickly spread across the internet. Many debated the legitimacy of the leaks, with some fans pointing out some inconsistencies in the character select screen and arguing that Shulk's model looked like an altered Little Mac. This uncertainty led to rumor and speculation, but Nintendo had the leaked gameplay taken down from YouTube, which implied the videos were legitimate. 1 week after doing this, Nintendo uploaded an official reveal trailer for Shulk, confirming the ESRB leak to be real. Interestingly, the same 4chan leaker posted about DLC, almost none of which turned out to be accurate. Shortly before Smash 4 was released, Nintendo uploaded a video of a few seconds of Ganondorf in a small hoop off-screen. This was before Ganondorf was officially announced for the game, and Nintendo uploaded a new version of the video without Ganondorf after they realized their mistake. Additionally, the Amazon page for Smash 4 detailed several unannounced features, including stage creation on the Wii U gamepad, challenges, and the board game-themed Smash Tour mode. All of these features were later confirmed during Nintendo's 50-fact extravaganza for the game. Although many of Smash 4's rumors and leaks were proven to be true, many were inaccurate. While Nintendo was still collecting responses to the Smash ballot for DLC characters, video game historian Liam Robertson reported that Shovel Knight would be coming to Smash Bros. As one of the ballot winners. However, this never happened. Years later, industry insider Ryan Brown explained that he'd passed the information on to Robertson after Brown found out about the Shovel Knight amiibo. At the time, only Smash Bros. Fighters had amiibo, so Brown incorrectly assumed that Shovel Knight was going to be a playable fighter. This is one example of how miscommunication between insiders led to false rumors. In January of 2014, images of Mario and Palutena surfaced online, which appeared to be authentic because the character models were new. After Palutena was officially revealed for the game with a different model, debate over whether or not these images were real intensified. They were later proven to be a hoax. The creator stepped forward in a 4chan thread about the ESRB leak, showing that the models were created in an external program and digitally manipulated to look like Smash 4 screenshots. On Valentine's Day of 2015, a leak for Rayman's DLC appeared on 4chan, and several outlets reported it as potentially legitimate. However, YouTuber Artsy Omni revealed the leak to be a mock-up he'd created. He used this Rayman hoax to launch the art series Smashified, which shows what characters might look like in the Smash Bros. Art style. Artsy Omni had previously created mock-ups of Kirby with various new character hats during Brawl's development that some tried to pass off as leaks. He also made a fake render for Klonoa that was exposed as a fake, as it used Japanese characters for Ike instead of Klonoa. Interestingly, before Artsy Omni's Rayman mock-up was proven to be a hoax, Ubisoft acknowledged it and said they planned to comment on it. Another fake passed off as a legitimate leak was Nibrox and Game Onion's mock-up of a Dr. Mario stage, inspired by unused data for a stage in Smash for Wii U. The pair created several renders of what the stage might have looked like, but eventually came forward and revealed it to be fake. After the release of Smash 4, YouTube user Connor Rentz made a mock-up for an arcade Smash Bros. Game featuring a fake debug menu and character selection screen. Rentz was also responsible for renders of Pichu and the Ice Climbers used in some fake leaks. Super Smash Bros. Memories was an early rumor that suggested that Smash 3DS would feature retro characters, while the Wii U version would be full of characters from newer franchises. This was proven to be false after Sakurai confirmed the two versions would have identical rosters. A NeoGAF user with the alias Spain Killer also claimed that a gaming insider had seen models for Dixie Kong, Ridley, the Chorus Men, and Mewtwo, and that the characters could be unlocked by linking Smash 3DS and Wii U together. After the release of both games, this too was proven false. A popular text rumor that originated on 4chan detailed a mode called the Tower of Smash, which also claimed several characters could be unlocked by linking the 3DS and Wii U games together. This mode would pit players against other characters and bosses in a series of one-on-one matches with unique rules. This rumor was proven false after the 50-fact extravaganza. Several hackers leaked information about the game's DLC after Smash 4's release. After looking through the update files for the 3DS game, data miner Shiny Quagsire found several unused audio files. These included fanfares for Roy from Fire Emblem and Ryu from Street Fighter. A few days later, Shiny Quagsire discovered evidence that at least 5 DLC characters were planned, and that there could be as many as 7 new stages with both original and Omega forms. Later, VG resource admin Random Talking Bush also data mined the update and discovered various unannounced and unreleased assets assets, including footage for Roy, Ryu, and Lucas. GBA temp user Crediar was actually able to get the DLC working before release and began to stream it, which was promptly shut down by Nintendo. After the release of Smash 4 and the expedited lifespan of the Wii U, many fans began speculating about the next game in the franchise. Even before the Wii U and 3DS games were finished, a job posting appeared for Smash 6 in April of 2014. Sakurai has previously stated that he considers the Wii U and 3DS versions of Smash to be separate games, so he would consider the next Smash game to be the 6th entry in the series. Dr. Serkan Toto was the first to report the existence of a new Smash game in development, stating that it was targeted to launch alongside the Nintendo Switch, then known as the NX. Later, both Liam Robertson and Push Dustin would report on this Smash game being a deluxe port of the Wii U and 3DS games, with new content and the return of the Ice Climbers. Additionally, since the Miiverse is not featured on the Switch, the Miiverse stage would likely be cut. In November of 2016, Twitter user Laura Kate Dale reported that the amiibo for Corrin, Bayonetta, and Cloud were on hold for a Switch Smash port in 2017, but those amiibo were eventually released with no Smash announcement. A year later, in November of 2017, Nintendo registered a new trademark for Smash with a new logo that was used in the March 2018 announcement of the new Switch game. 2 weeks earlier, games journalist Emily Rogers posted that she was unsure whether or not this new game would be a port, but it would reuse a great deal of content from the Wii U and 3DS games. Even before the existence of the new Smash game was confirmed, there were a number of fake leaks and rumors. Josh Thomas of the YouTube channel Nintendo Beyond created some fake screenshots for a Switch Smash Bros. That duped many outlets. Another fake video featuring Springman and Decidueye was posted on 4chan, but was eventually revealed to be the creation of YouTube user Virtual Turtle. Speaking of duping people, Marcus Sellers was tricked by Twitch streamer Connor Eats Pants into revealing fake Smash rumors that Connor had made up. Humorously, in his messages to Sellers, Connor hid the words fake and jebaited. After Connor revealed himself, Marcus deleted his Smash information tweets. On May 9th, a developer on Twitter revealed that he worked on the new rendering engine that will be used for Smash Switch before he left Bandai Namco. His credentials were verified through his LinkedIn account and various forum posts. Once the tweet began to spread, he deleted his Twitter account. Did you know? Despite series creator Masahiro Sakurai's best attempt at keeping Smash Ultimate's all-star roster a secret, there were several missteps along the way, some even from Nintendo themselves. The DLC for Smash Ultimate is still being developed, but we wanted to provide a rundown of all the rumors, hoaxes, and leaks that have happened so far. We already covered Smash rumors and leaks for every Smash game before Ultimate, and even a few for Ultimate, in a previous video. So pause this video and go watch that one to be brought up to speed. Before Smash Ultimate's grand reveal, there were a few leaks about the game that went virtually unnoticed. Sakurai would even celebrate that the announcement saw few leaks. In his bi-weekly Famitsu column after the E3 announcement, he wrote, "To be honest, I'm truly glad there wasn't a leak. If word had gotten out that everyone is here, then we wouldn't have had this incredible reaction." Unfortunately, Sakurai is mistaken. There were a number of leaks about the game's presentation that did ruin some of the surprises for a few eagle-eyed fans. The YouTuber Master of Hyrule indicated in a post dating from April 2018 that some characters like Duck Hunt and Shulk would return. He also posted a small image of the battlefield stage seen from above, showing that the stage would receive an update in the new Smash. Soon after, another YouTuber, GU King of Heart, would post a bigger image of the new battlefield design and claim that he got the information from the same source that told him about Nintendo's set design of E3 2017. He also confirmed several props that'd be used by Nintendo in their E3 2018's booth, including Bayonetta's boots, Link's Master Sword, and Captain Falcon's helmet. Both posts were deleted soon after, but were talked about heavily within the hardcore Smash community. Some rumors were also published on 4chan, including a post that indicated Princess Daisy and Ridley would be revealed in the E3 presentation. The anonymous poster would continue to provide accurate information, revealing the game's title and release date. They even correctly pointed out that Bomberman would be an assist trophy, which came as a shock to many fans. Perhaps the best known leak at the time was from a user on GameFAQs named Laws18. He revealed that all the characters of the previous games would come back, the Inkling's special moves, and the changes to the Zelda characters. Laws18 was met with a lot of skepticism, but his info turned out to be the real deal. However, later rumors from Laws18 would prove to be mostly inaccurate about the game's development. Vergaben was also gaining notoriety at this time. He was famous for leaking details about other fighting games, and for publishing rumors of a potential Star Fox racing game. Back in March 2018, he made a post claiming that he'd heard that Tails, Phoenix Wright, Zero, and Noctis would be joining Smash as fighters, info that would later be proven false. Later that same week, he posted an update saying he heard Ridley would be joining the roster, and that Bandai Namco would develop the title from one of his more are credible sources. In May, he retracted his initial claims, but doubled down on Ridley and Bandai Namco's involvement. He also added that Simon Belmont from Castlevania would also be added to the game's roster, and that there'd be no cuts from the previous entry, all information that would later be confirmed. However, like other rumors from Forgaben, he wasn't the first to post this. Stealth40k was actually the first to post that he'd heard Simon Belmont might be joining Smash back in April 2018, a full month before Forgaben made the claim. Stealth40k also asserts that Incineroar was one of the first characters leaked for Smash Ultimate. All the claims of Simon Belmont joining Smash would eventually be confirmed, inadvertently by Nintendo themselves. A day before the August 2018 Smash presentation, an employee at Nintendo accidentally renamed their YouTube Galaga medley to Blood Tears / Monster Dance, confirming the addition of Castlevania to Smash. In the August 8th Direct, Simon Belmont, Chrom, Dark Samus, King K. Rool, and Richter Belmont were announced. Richter in particular shocked many Nintendo fans, as many were unaware who the character even was. However, Chrom and Dark Samus were somewhat unexpected, as Ike and Samus seemed to lose palette swaps referencing these characters in the early demos of Ultimate. Laws 18's reputation would reach an all-time high during this point. On June 13, 2018, Laws claimed that there'd be an August Direct showcasing the start screen and options. He also claimed that a tournament mode and 2 other models would be shown, with one of them being the primary way to unlock characters. The new mode wasn't shown, but it wasn't enough to destroy Laws' credibility. A supposed DM leak between Forgaben and Laws 18 also gave Laws more credibility. In the conversation, Forgaben asked Laws 18 if he'd heard that there wasn't going to be a Donkey Kong newcomer. Laws said he doubted the claim, implying he believed a DK newcomer was likely. Since King K. Rool was revealed at the end of the August Direct, Laws 18's reputation was boosted among Smash fans. Laws' reputation would take a huge hit after the September Nintendo Direct, however, which revealed Isabelle as a newcomer. He'd previously stated that Skull Kid from Majora's Mask would be a newcomer before the reveal. He also stated he thought young Link's final smash would be a Fierce Deity Link transformation. Both pieces of info would later be proven false. He ended up closing his account on GameFAQs shortly after due to fear of Nintendo ninjas. Despite these fears, Laws went on to open a Twitter account under the same name and claimed that Dixie Kong and Isaac would be playable. He later retired from leaking after the Direct. He'd later make a post defending his record on Smashboards and apologizing for his mistakes. While Laws 18 wouldn't be happy to see Isabelle revealed, Forgaben was. In July 2018, he posted on GameFAQs that Isabelle would be coming to the game. Later on Reddit, he claimed that he heard she was an Echo Fighter, which proved to be incorrect. Before the August 2018 Direct, he also posted that a new Pokémon would come from Generation 7, and it wouldn't be Decidueye, Lycanroc, nor Mimikyu. After the August 2018 Direct, Forgaben posted that Ken from Street Fighter would join the roster, and a character owned by Square Enix would also be included in the game's roster. Few were convinced, however, as many felt he was copying information from a NeoGAF user named Whistleblank. Whistleblank posted a message in July 2018 stating that K. Rool, Simon Belmont, and Isaac would be newcomers. They also claimed that Chrom and Soren would be Echo Fighters of Ike and Robin respectively, and that Ken and an unknown character from Square Enix would join the battle. While some of their info turned out to be true, the Pokémon series eventually got a newcomer, and Isaac and Soren were missing from the game's final roster. Whistleblank then deleted their account, but some similarly named accounts appeared making various amendments to the claims, and it's unknown if they were the same person. There was another major rumor posted before the August 2018 Direct that got a lot of attention. An anonymous poster on 4chan claimed to have a demo of Smash and data mined it. The post originated from July 1st and stated that Richter would be joining the Smash roster, in addition to K. Rool and Dark Samus. The post also claimed that Gardevoir, Gothitelle, and a second Mario character, like Paper Mario, would be joining the roster. Since Richter was seen as an unlikely character by many Smash fans, the rumor gained significant traction among the fanbase. In the end, this rumor would be false, as Gardevoir, Gothitelle, and another Mario didn't join the roster. On August 29th, another user claimed to have the demo of Smash and was filming new footage from it. However, upon closer inspection, it was revealed that they were using footage filmed from their playtime at CEO, and using dummy accounts to request certain footage that they'd then publish to boost their credibility. Another post on 4chan from July 25th claimed that Geno, Celica, Simon Belmont, and Isabelle would be added to the game. Celica and Geno would be missing from the game's final roster, proving this rumor false. Another post from September 2018 claimed Isabelle, Ken, and Incineroar would be in the game, and asserted that Skull Kid and Geno wouldn't be fighters. This post would end up being technically true, but it's unknown if they were piggybacking off other leaks. There were a few image leaks suggesting Geno would be a newcomer. The smug Geno leak became a bit of a meme in the Smash community. Upon closer inspection, the image was found to be just an edited image of Geno from Project M. Geno wasn't the only character that got a hoax during this time. Reddit user CamToonist made a fake PokeFloats 2 leak, also in September, featuring Skull Kid and Bandana D. The post fooled a few in the Smash community, but people like Push Dustin pointed out there were several lighting and size discrepancies, suggesting the photos had been altered. In fall 2018, many fans believed Karate Joe from Rhythm Heaven was coming to Smash as a fighter. This is because during King K. Rool's reveal trailer, Donkey Kong struck a pose resembling an image of Karate Joe. This was even covered by outlets such as GameXplain, bringing more awareness to the potential nod. This led to a number of Rhythm Heaven hoaxes, such as one that showed Karate Joe without a shadow. There was even a 4chan post that sought to recreate the setup for Memory Post, suggesting Rhythm Heaven would get a new character. However, as Push Dustin pointed out on Twitter, several aspects of the images showed it was fake, like different lighting, the emblem's poor design, and the dubious nature in which it was uploaded. In the end, all of these images were false. Rhythm Heaven was also featured in another 4chan fake that gained a lot of attention from the Smash community. In a post that closely resembled a Smash for 3DS leak, renders of Agnes from Bravely Default, Shadow the Hedgehog, the Chorus Kids, Skull Kid, Isabelle, Isaac, and Ken could supposedly be seen. However, there were a number of issues with the images, including Agnes's name being spelt wrong, and her hair being parted differently from her official artwork. The art was actually made by Twitter user Leppy Peppy. Fans didn't just look at the poses of characters to get hints about who was joining Smash, they even judged the decor to determine who was coming next. Some fans convinced themselves that Sakurai hinted at K. Rool being in the game before his reveal, and began looking at the August Direct for other hints. Some fans thought the color of the chairs seen in the August Direct indicated that Waluigi or Skull Kid would come to Smash. In the end, this was just another example of fans reading too much into things and grasping at straws. In September 2018, the Japanese magazine CoroCoro mistakenly reported that Smash Ultimate would have 108 stages when the game launched. In the previous August Direct, Sakurai showed off the stage select screen with 103 stages. This led to some believing that 5 additional series would be revealed with additional stages. September 2018 was a long month for Smash fans. Despite Isabelle being confirmed for the roster, Smash speculation was at an all-time high with intense discussion on who else will be joining the roster. On September 14, 2018, Amazon posted images of the Smash Ultimate Bundle, seemingly confirming that the roster would only have 2 more characters revealed. This was deduced by the pattern that the characters were in, which seemed to alternate between 2 sides of the packaging. This led to an intense debate on what became known as box theory. Just a few days later, a more optimistic theory emerged. Duckmeat and Sabi proposed blog theory, which calculated the rate that characters were announced to predict just how many characters were left. By their estimates, there were 6 characters left. However, a major issue with this theory is that it assumed the rate of character announcements would stay consistent, which they never did in any of the Smash speculation periods before. Despite its obvious flaws, the box versus blog theory became a huge focal point in the community. On September 14, 2018, a Reddit user named NoahTesty leaked several details about Smash Ultimate. In their posts, they claimed to be a playtester for Ultimate. They stated that Ken and Incineroar would be the base roster's final 2 characters, and Spirits were similar to Brawl's stickers. They also claimed that Piranha Plant was going to be the game's first DLC character, and the plant wouldn't utilize a fireball in their moveset. They also claimed the internal name of Ultimate was Cross 2. After they made 3 posts on Reddit, NoahTesty stopped posting and hasn't used the account since. All of their posts would be confirmed legitimate after the game's final presentation. On September 22, 2018, an image of Ken giving a thumbs up was uploaded to the internet. It showed Ivysaur, Pichu, and Pac-Man all using their up taunts on the Moray Tower stage in what appears to be a debug mode. Fans realized the odd clipping of Ken and Pac-Man's right feet were issues in the actual game, giving the screenshot legitimacy. While Nintendo never commented on the image, its validity was confirmed in the final Smash presentation. 2 days later, a 4chan post claimed Incineroar, Ken, and Piranha Plant were in Ultimate, and Piranha Plant would be in a vehicle similar to Bowser Jr. While Piranha Plant uses a pipe or a pot, it's unclear if this was legitimate, or piggybacking off other leaks. Despite Sakurai saying there wouldn't be a lot of characters left to reveal in the August 2018 Direct, fans were still expecting more. All of this came to its epic conclusion right before the presentation that would reveal the final 2 characters, Incineroar and Ken. The Grinch leak was a hoax that went viral, originally posted at the end of October 2018, showcasing Banjo and Kazooie, Chorus Kids, Gino, Isaac, Ken, and Shadow as part of artwork that resembled the Smash Bros. Everyone is Here mural. The image was uploaded to Snapchat and then 4chan, where it quickly spread across the internet. The reason it's called the Grinch leak is because it featured artwork for merchandise relating to the Grinch movie, which is one of the reasons why so many people believed it. Internet detectives hypothesized that the image came from a French company, Marina PLV, which had worked with Bandai Namco in the past. All of these characters were believable to a certain degree. None of them at that point were shown as assist trophies, and some were characters Sakurai had considered at one point or another. Papa Gino's, a YouTuber who covers Smash leaks and rumors, was certain of Banjo's inclusion due to a source he had, so he backed the leak. Liam Robertson contacted the artist who was supposedly responsible for the image, which led to the artist denying any involvement. This led to a civil war in the Smash community, as some people claimed the images were legitimate, while others claimed they were false. However, the internet's collective dreams would be destroyed just 2 weeks later when the rest of the game's roster was officially announced, disproving the Grinch hoax once and for all. Forgaben came out against the Grinch hoax, stating that he'd heard Isaac was an assist trophy, not a playable character. He also stated that a new Square Enix character was coming, but said it was possible it was moved to DLC. Forgaben would also claim that Minecraft would see representation in the base game. After the game was released, he suggested that we could see Minecraft content for DLC, but ever since he made that post, no Minecraft content has appeared in Smash Ultimate. The Grinch hoax was probably based on an earlier rumor, nicknamed the Chad Ganondorf. This was a post that originated on 4chan back in September 2018, and featured mostly the same info in the Grinch hoax. It's currently unknown who is responsible for the doctored images. In the final Smash presentation, Nintendo revealed that Ultimate would be getting DLC, and that Piranha Plant would be the game's first post-launch character. However, 2 weeks before Ultimate was set to be released, a leaked copy appeared online. This was because the game was sold early somewhere in Mexico. Some players downloaded a copy of the game and beat it, revealing all of the game's contents early. Nintendo tried taking down videos showcasing the game's story and music through DMCA takedowns. However, information quickly spread across the internet, including the game's cutscenes. There's been many rumors about the DLC for Smash Ultimate. Hitagi, a contact of Forgaben, claimed the game would see a Grand Blue character, most likely Catalina. Hitagi also claimed that Steve would be coming to Ultimate, which Forgaben initially supported. The rumor was proven entirely false, as Grand Blue didn't receive any characters in Fighter Pass 1. In November 2018, Forgaben would double down about Minecraft representation in Smash, stating there'd be a boss battle. However, no evidence to support this claim has ever been found. After Banjo's reveal, Forgaben stated Minecraft would see representation with the first DLC pass, which was also false. On October 11, 2018, Japanese Twitter user Milk Bosatu posted that a VR mode would come to Ultimate. They also claimed that Dragon Quest's hero and a fighting game character would come to Smash. In particular, they stated that the hero wouldn't have any female alts, and that a fighting game character would be coming as DLC. In December, they claimed the fighting game character would be female, and that she'd utilize flying weapons. This wouldn't come true, as Terry was revealed as the game's 5th post-launch character. Milk Bosatu wasn't the only one who leaked a VR mode to Smash Ultimate. Papa Gino's started reporting on information that was obtained by a source named VR Plant. They claimed to be the same person that posted details about Ridley and Daisy's inclusion on 4chan before the E3 2018 presentation. The source would leak various upcoming releases to Papa Gino's, including Hero's release date. An anonymous poster on 4chan stated that Dragon Quest, Banjo-Kazooie, Doom Guy, and Monster Hunter would be part of the Season Pass. This was notable as it was the only instance of someone correctly guessing all the alts for the Dragon Quest hero. While the first two would come true, the other characters wouldn't be part of the pass. Sticky.smt on Twitter would later claim that they made the post and that they guessed the alts for Hero. There was also a theory that the DLC characters were inadvertently leaked by Google AdWords. This was first proposed by Duckmeat and other users on Papa Gino's Discord server. Users found that by typing Banjo-Kazooie, Ryu Hayabusa, Doomslayer, and Artorias on Google, it would show an ad for the Smash Bros. Website. However, it was revealed that anyone could buy an ad on Google, and the theory was proven false with Hero's reveal. On December 10, 2018, an anonymous poster on 5channel, a Japanese equivalent to 4chan, posted that Joker would come to Smash. They stated that Mementos would be the stage, and that Jack Frost would appear in their moveset. They stated that Persona 5R would be a deluxe version of Persona 5, and that Persona 5U was a fighting game. While the poster correctly predicted the stage and character, the other info was mostly false. Another poster on 5channel claimed that Erdrick from Dragon Quest, Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, Steve from Minecraft, and the Doom Guy were the characters for the Smash Ultimate Fighter Pass 1. Before Terry's release, there was a 4chan post claiming Geese, Heihachi, Lloyd Irving, and Hollow Knight would come as Wii costumes with an online mode called Slipspace. They also claimed that Doomslayer was in the pass, and Geno and Frogger would be extra DLC characters. This turned out to be inaccurate. There's been several accurate leaks about the first Fighter Pass for Ultimate. Right before the game's release, Persona 5's Joker was announced at the Game Awards to the surprise of many. When the game was released, data miners were unable to uncover a couple of code names for upcoming characters. They discovered Pakun, Jack, and Brave. Similarly, Mementos was accidentally leaked as Joker's stage through an oversight that led to unrelated strings being left over in the game's compiler. There were also unused strings that suggested Joker would get an alt costume featuring a ponytail. However, Joker didn't get ponytails, and the data is nowhere to be found when he was released. Since then, the oversight has been fixed. Modes that were added through DLC were also data mined early. Files named How to Play Stage Builder and How to Play Home Run were found back in March 2019. Nintendo accidentally showed off Stage Builder in an ad published on April 16th, with the mode being officially revealed the next day. On March 31st, 2019, Best Buy accidentally published Joker's render for Smash ahead of its official announcement. This led to speculation that Joker would be released soon after. The render was removed from the ad the next day, and Joker was officially shown on April 17th. Reset-era admin Shinobi hinted at Banjo's inclusion in Smash a full week before their reveal. On June 5th, 2019, he posted, "Been a while since we saw Banjo in anything. Hope we're in for a smashing good time." Tansut, who previously leaked Cloud's presence in Smash for 3DS and Wii U, also hinted that Dragon Quest would be getting a character. They reportedly heard that info back in December 2018. There was also a rumor by one of Papagino's Discord mods, Paragon, dubbed the Paraleak. They claimed the first Fighter Pass would include Joker, Luminary, Banjo, Frisk, and Waluigi. Where exactly they got this info is unknown, but the rumor gained significant traction after Hero and Banjo-Kazooie were revealed at E3. However, this rumor would be proven false with Terry's reveal and Sans inclusion as a Mii Fighter costume. Nintendo of Europe updated the page for the fourth fighter in the past to include an SNK copyright on September 1st, 2019, before Terry was announced. They took down the copyright, but Terry was confirmed as a fighter just 3 days later. On the same day, a 7-Eleven ad went up, showcasing Banjo and Kazooie. It was thought that Banjo would be released before the ad was changed, and Banjo was. Before Byleth was revealed as the final character for Fighter Pass 1, there were many rumors about who would end the pass. Starting from November 2019 and lasting until January, Forgaben and Sabi would post almost weekly update on who the character wasn't. This drew in a lot of criticism, as they never stated who the character was. Forgaben would also walk back some of his previous claims, stating that his source was mistaken. Before the presentation, Forgaben would post the Mii Fighter costumes, at least indicating he knew some information in advance. However, it's unclear if he or his sources knew the character as early as November 2019. As for Byleth's reveal, Sakurai announced that 6 more characters would be coming as DLC for Ultimate, meaning the speculation and rumors cycle will continue until December 2021. Although many rumors have been confirmed or disproven, one image has constantly stumped Smash fans. A video appeared online showing the Cacodemon from Doom and Mallow from Super Mario RPG as Mii costume heads. Initially, it was thought that it'd be impossible to mod new Mii costumes in the game, giving the potential video leak some credibility. However, it was found that Mii costumes could be modded, thus raising some suspicion if it was credible. What's more is that Ken's Shoryuken does 0.7% difference in damage, suggesting the balance was altered. As of this video, it's unknown if this was an elaborate hoax or if they were actual leaks. After Min Min's reveal, there was a fake 4chan post that spread across the Smash community. However, when attempting to search for the post, it was revealed that the image was fake. Did you know? The first rumor of a new Nintendo console came only a year after the Wii U's launch. On January 21st, 2014, Nintendo News reported Nintendo was preparing a follow-up to the Wii U due to the console's limited success. According to their anonymous source, the console was called the Nintendo Fusion and would combine Nintendo's handheld and home console lines. The rumor's credibility was boosted by a detailed list of technical specs. 2 versions of the console would be released, the handheld Fusion DS and the home console Fusion Terminal. The terminal was backwards compatible with Wii U software and came in 2 versions, one with a disk drive and one without. The console supposedly had an inductive charge surface, allowing players to charge both Wii Remote Plus controllers and the Fusion DS. The implication was that the Fusion would hybridize a home console and a handheld by being 2 separate consoles that connected. Complicating the story, Nintendo owned the domain name nintendofusion.com. The site was created in 2003 to support the Nintendo Fusion Tour, a series of rock and video game-themed music festivals held from 2003 to 2006. However, the names of the components provided in the specifications raised some suspicions. Dan Van Winkle at the Mary Sue said names such as Jumpman, Kong, and Barrel did not fit with Nintendo's history of thematic but non-game related names for the components. For example, the GameCube's GPU was named Flipper, a reference to its codename, Dolphin. Kotaku's Jason Schreier also scrutinized the Nintendo news article, asking writer Kevin McMinn about his source. Although McMinn knew little about the source's identity, they'd provided him reliable insider information in the past. McMinn was frustrated that while he carefully stressed none of his claims were verified, the online community did little to heed his warning. He said in the future he'd probably keep these tips to himself, as the article was nothing more than a pain in the neck, really. Further doubt was cast when the same rumor, including the list of specs, was posted to the website Game Realm on the 1st of January that year. The info supposedly came from an anonymous source, and the article admitted the info should be taken with a huge grain of salt. Schreier concluded his investigation by noting 1 or 2 anonymous emails could easily snowball into articles on some of the largest gaming websites. With the Wii U being just a year old, some dismissed any rumors, believing it was too soon for a new console. But late Nintendo president Satoru Iwata confirmed in a May 2014 investors meeting that Nintendo was already exploring new hardware ideas. The goal for the Switch had been decided. The company wanted to redefine video game platforms. Iwata estimated it would take around 2 years to accomplish this goal. In December 2014, an article was published in the Japan Times claiming the Sharp Corporation was entering a deal with Nintendo to supply the company free-form display LCDs that could fit any shape. Mass production of the screens would supposedly start in early 2016, and many assumed Nintendo would use Sharp screens in a new portable console. One of the Japan Times' sources even suggested Nintendo intended to use the screens' free-form capabilities to create a hole in the center of the display. The Switch, then named the NX, was first officially named on March 17, 2015 at a Nintendo investors meeting. Nintendo was mostly focused on their new partnership with DNA and their plans to bring Nintendo properties to mobile. To assure investors they were still dedicated to gaming systems, Iwata revealed the existence of a new dedicated game platform codenamed NX. He hoped Nintendo's foray into mobile gaming would get casual gamers to buy the NX through their new interest in Nintendo. Nintendo would also launch a service where players could log into a Nintendo account regardless of which system they played on. No further details were announced at the time, and with a lack of details came rumors, many of which anticipated a connection between the NX and Nintendo's new foray in mobile games. Some outlets read the announcement as the death of the Wii U and anticipated further details at E3 that year. However, Iwata soon clarified the new console wasn't imminent, and the company would not make announcements about it at E3. It was only announced to dispel concerns about Nintendo exiting the console market. Iwata also said the NX wouldn't be a continuation of either the Wii U or the 3DS. Rather, it would appeal to a broad audience by taking into account different playing habits worldwide. This comment sparked speculation that the NX would lack region locking, letting players import games without modding their console. Around this time, Wired's Chris Kohler made an accurate prediction. The NX would integrate a handheld and home console into a single device. He presented the investors his presentation in March 2014 as evidence, where Iwata expressed frustration that Nintendo had to make handheld and home console software separately. The handheld and home console divisions of Nintendo had historically been separated as a result, but in 2013, Iwata united the two under Genyo Takeda's supervision. Iwata claimed vast technical advances allowed Nintendo to achieve a fair degree of architectural integration. Taking advantage of this allowed Nintendo to easily port games between handhelds and home consoles, helping solve the problem of game shortages on their systems. However, Iwata said Nintendo would only truly be able to take advantage of this advance with their next system. He was doubtful Nintendo could completely integrate the hardware into a single device and envisioned an architecture more like the iOS, a singular platform allowing Nintendo to upgrade hardware more frequently. Kohler concluded by predicting the NX was a suite of devices rather than a single one. It was around the time of this restructuring that Nintendo began taking pitches from third parties to develop hardware for their next console. AMD in particular was highlighted in rumors surrounding the NX. In July 2015, VentureBeat speculated Nintendo would collaborate with AMD due to their accelerated processing units, allowing for easier backwards compatibility. Nintendo previously used PowerPC processors alongside an AMD GPU in the Wii U, which, with its low power and extra screen, made developing for the console awkward for third-party developers. Consoles at the time tended to use x86 technology, which is industry standard and easier to develop for. On June 14, 2015, a video claiming to show leaked footage of Nintendo's new console was uploaded to YouTube. Supposedly having been filmed on a phone at E3 2015, even though it started circulating before Nintendo's presentation, the console revealed in the footage was called the XDS. It combined features of the Wii U and 3DS and was able to play games from both systems. The top screen could be turned around and slotted back in, making the XDS resemble a more traditional single-screen unit. Many spotted signs the presentation was fake. The voice used in the clip seemed to be Bill Trinin's, a Nintendo Treehouse employee unlikely to host such a high-profile presentation. It was speculated the audio was lifted from a Treehouse event or Nintendo Direct. Additionally, Nintendo had no physical presentation at E3 that year, opting for a Nintendo Direct presentation. Finally, the idea for the console contradicted Iwata's statements that the NX wouldn't continue the Wii U or 3DS lines. No major news sites reported on the footage, instead reporting on contradictory yet more reliable rumors. But then, another fake presentation surfaced. This one showed a console called the Nintendo Cross, which played on rumors about the partnership between Nintendo and AMD. The console was supposedly able to stream Wii U and 3DS games to tablets, smartphones, or the Wii U gamepad. It also boasted an unrealistic launch lineup, including Mario, Metroid, and The Legend of Zelda. The controller shown as a part of the presentation was an edited image of a Wii U Pro controller, with obvious artifacting around the edges. As with the XDS, this obviously fake leak didn't get much traction. In July 2015, Taiwan-based news organization DigiTimes claimed Nintendo entered a contract with Foxconn Electronics and planned to begin pilot assembly on the NX by October. This information, which also claimed the NX had a projected July release, came from an inside source but couldn't be verified. Rumors began circulating that Nintendo's new console was a virtual reality/augmented reality machine. News outlet DigiCapital speculated Nintendo was entering the VR space to try and fill a market gap, as Miyamoto and Reggie Fils-Aimé both had talked about a lack of fun social games commercially viable in VR. On August 21st, a Nintendo patent was published for a stationary game apparatus, game system, recording medium, and speed control method. The patent was filed on February 10th and describes a controller with a display screen that has no disk drive. In its place is a card slot, where a memory card containing software can be inserted. Some speculated this meant a return to cartridge-based systems. In October, the Wall Street Journal reported Nintendo had begun distributing NX development kits among third-party developers such as Square Enix, who had announced Dragon Quest X and XI for the NX in July. However, they shortly walked this back and said an NX launch was only being considered. The Wall Street Journal's sources stated the NX took the form of a console with at least one portable component. They also reported the console used industry-leading chips. These reports of a portable component led to speculation that the console was going to be similar to the Wii U, with a separate portable device. Analyst David Gibson told the Wall Street Journal it was likely Nintendo would launch the NX in 2016 due to declining support for their current hardware. In November 2015, a DigiTimes article claimed 12 million NX units were expected to ship globally in 2016. According to the article, the target was initially 20 million, but this number was scaled back due to difficulty obtaining the required components. Around this time, another patent was published online. The patent, filed by Nintendo in June 2015, was for a game apparatus and information processing apparatus, and showed a long oval device with two pentagons at either side similar to the 3DS's circle pad. These pentagons could be used as buttons that adjusted to meet the player's preferences, such as changing to suit left or right-handed players. Most notably, the entire front of the pad was a touchscreen display. While it wasn't confirmed to be an official Nintendo venture, the nature of this patent and the odd shape of the display led some to conclude the device was the reason Nintendo partnered with Sharp. Sharp's free-form display was perfect for such a device, and the rumored holes in the screen could be used for analog pads. Another patent was registered by Nintendo of America on December 3rd. The patent hinted at a device that was both a home console and a portable console. The portable console attached to a supplemental computing device to provide additional processing resources. There's been no official connection made between this patent and the NX, though it sounds like it describes the Nintendo Switch dock. In January 2016, market research company GFK released a survey inexplicably containing information about the NX. The survey stated the console would allow the player to make video calls, support 4K 60 frames per second video streaming, and support 900p 60 frames per second gameplay. Participants were asked how much they'd pay for such a console. These specs seemed odd, as many Wii U games ran at 1080p. The survey was later confirmed to be pure speculation on GFK's part. Then came even more rumors. The Wall Street Journal tech reporter Takashi Mochizuki claimed the NX might work with smartphones, PCs, and even rival the PlayStation 4. He cited industry insider David Gibson as a source for this. On January 28th, industry consultant Dr. Serkan Toto announced Bandai Namco was developing several NX titles, including Super Smash Bros., which was said to be a launch title. Whether this game was to be a sequel to or port of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U was unclear. In February 2016, behind-the-scenes info was given to DualPixels.com from a leaker known as Gino. Gino had a reliable track record of leaks, having accurately predicted new Pokémon forms and Microsoft's Illumaroom project. He outlined a console that started production in 2014 and alleged Nintendo hadn't had this much forward momentum on a console launch since the original Famicom. Internally, the NX was supposedly thought of as Iwata's final project, and employees were said to end meetings and brainstorms by chanting, "For Iwata." Gino went on to describe a console with a wireless HDMI dongle that allowed it to connect to the television, and the analog sticks had small motors in them for haptic feedback. This meant if the player ran into a wall, the analog stick could snap in the opposite direction to give a sense of impact. The feature would also be used when firing a gun, taking damage, or moving over rough terrain. The console was able to sync via Bluetooth with everything, including smartphones and tablets for viewing texts and phone calls. It ran on an operating system called Nintendo OS, and was said to have social features similar to Pokémon Go. The system architecture was easy to develop for, and the system was allegedly closest in power to the Xbox One. This was pointed to as the reason Nintendo was happy to give out dev kits so late. One dev is quoted as saying the NX was the easiest device we've ever developed for. On the 3rd of March, Gino once again provided DualPixels with info about the NX. They claimed Ubisoft's long-awaited Beyond Good and Evil 2 was to be an NX exclusive, with Nintendo funding the project in a manner similar to Bayonetta 2. The game was said to be titled Beyond Good and Evil: The Prejudices of Philosophers, a reference to a specific chapter dealing with authority and morality in Friedrich Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil. This rumor was lent weight by Michael Ansel name-dropping Miyamoto when discussing the sequel with Tim Schafer. Upon investigation, Destructoid confirmed many of Gino's details with a second unnamed source. On the 15th of March, DualPixels published another article, this time claiming Luigi's Mansion 3 was to be a launch title for the NX. The game would show off how powerful the console was by creating a game that looked like the American commercial for Luigi's Mansion: Dark Moon. The game would also use haptic feedback in the analog sticks. The following month, Gino claimed Activision was throwing their support behind the NX, gunning for a new Call of Duty game called Bloodlines to be on the console. On March 17, 2016, images began circulating of a controller with an LCD screen that looked very similar to the patent made public in December 2015. Initial images were posted to Reddit by user Idris2Dev, containing the console and a post-it note reading, "You will say wow." The quote was from Iwata in reference to the Wii. Idris2Dev claimed the shoulder buttons had a scroll function similar to a mouse wheel. Users were quick to point out inconsistencies with the image, suggesting it was fake. The lighting under the screen wasn't uniform, and the image on it appeared to be an Unreal Engine 4 demo, which Nintendo was unlikely to use. A similar image was uploaded by user Perkel37 6 days later. The entire rumor was soon undermined when the first image was revealed as a fake. A video was posted proving the 3D image of Idris2Dev's controller was edited together. Perkel37's photo was soon proven fake as well, but unlike the first hoax, it was of a physical object made using a 3D printer. YouTube user Frank Sankvist uploaded a video on March 25th showing how he made the mock-up. At a Nintendo investors meeting in March 2016, Iwata's successor Tatsumi Kimishima confirmed the NX would launch in March 2017 and would not be sold at a loss. More rumors emerged in April 2016. Reddit user Untyped Hero posted small tidbits of information. The NX ran on an x86 architecture, backed up data to a Nintendo server, could handle ports of current-gen games, interacted with smartphones and tablet apps, and could support an additional screen. The user was verified by the mod team as someone with connections to Wii U developers, lending weight to his claims. Then in came a large information dump from NeoGAF user 10K, describing yet another console Nintendo supposedly had in development. Set to be a successor to the Wii U's gamepad streaming technology, the console would have a screen controller with basic OS functions, but no processing power of its own. This controller was able to access the NX console from anywhere, though 10K did not explain the logistics of such a feature. They added that the console would have a custom Polaris-like GPU, referencing the Polaris series of AMD chips. According to the post, Final Fantasy XV was coming to the system, and the NX would launch at different times around the world. These rumors led to some speculation about the future of Nintendo's handheld consoles, as well as the feasibility of the proposal in consideration of the Wii U's performance. On April 12th, industry insider Emily Rogers tweeted that several ports were in development for the NX, including Zelda, Smash Bros., Mario Maker, and Splatoon. However, she made it clear that while these ports were in development, this was not confirmation they would be released. While Zelda was ported, the other 3 games received sequels instead. Rogers then doubled down on these rumors, posting Zelda was coming to both Wii U and NX, that the game featured full voice acting with the exception of Link, and that players could choose between a male and a female Link. While the latter prediction was untrue, it must be noted this possibility was debated internally at Nintendo. In the same month, Nintendo confirmed on Twitter that the NX would launch in March 2017. This announcement came on the heels of the same info being presented in their consolidated financial statements for 2015 through 2016. Nintendo also announced Breath of the Wild would release on both Wii U and NX simultaneously, delaying its release until March 2017. Many assumed the console was going to finally be revealed at E3 that year, but Nintendo stated they were showing only the new Zelda at E3, and not the NX. In June, DigiTimes reported on this rumor, claiming Nintendo delayed mass production of the NX from mid-2016 to early 2017 in order to add VR features. As the only VR feature Nintendo has added takes the form of Nintendo Labo, this claim is doubtful. In May, rumors the NX was ditching optical discs for cartridges resurfaced. Macronix, the company historically responsible for supplying Nintendo with its ROM chips, stated they were expecting a large amount of growth around the launch of Nintendo's new console. On May 13th, Rogers posted on her blog, refuting claims the NX ran on x86 architecture. She said the console used custom-made industry-leading chips. She finished her post by noting the only console the NX beat in terms of power was the Wii U. Rogers' claims were corroborated by Reggie Fils-Aimé in June. After Microsoft's Xbox One X was announced at E3 2016 under the name Project Scorpio, discussions about the new system's revolutionary power opened up. When asked about the NX in an interview with Bloomberg West, Fils-Aimé said they were prioritizing content over power. On June 14th, a trademark was submitted for Breath of the Wild, which stated a game was downloadable, available on game disc, and available on a video game cartridge, confirming the cartridge rumor. Another Nintendo patent was made public on June 30th. Filed on December 3, 2015, the patent described a handheld game console with speakers, a touchscreen, and force feedback. The patent noted sound and vibration in conjunction gave the player a sense of depth and direction in three-dimensional space. This rumble patent is similar to the Switch Joy-Cons' HD rumble feature. On July 26, a major leak confirmed a number of details about the Switch. Tom Phillips of Eurogamer sourced info that said the NX was a handheld console with detachable controllers on each side. The mock-up Eurogamer presented is remarkably similar to the final product. Phillips also accurately claimed the portable console would connect to a TV using a dock, and the console used cartridges. According to Phillips's information, Nintendo considered making the NX digital download only, but eventually decided against it. The console wouldn't be backwards compatible, and the report claimed the final product ran on NVIDIA's Tegra processor rather than AMD as many assumed. The information was largely accurate. It was also backed up by an independent report from the Wall Street Journal, whose sources described a hybrid console. However, they added the erroneous detail that the device could play Nintendo's mobile games such as Pokémon Go. Metro reported similar details, but added some speculation of their own about the existence of the supplemental computing device Nintendo had patented the previous year. This speculation proved to be on the money. Over the following months, information came out supporting Eurogamer's report. NeoGAF user Disorientator found a patent from Nintendo detailing detachable controllers like in the report. Nintendo also patented a gesture control feature that hasn't been seen on their console. Laura Kate Dale, while conducting independent research into the NX for Let's Play video games, found the Eurogamer report was accurate and added the console allowed force feedback and Wii Remote functionality for multiplayer games. Dale later posted a new article detailing a handheld device with a striking resemblance to the Switch. While some of the details are inaccurate, the overall shape is unmistakably the Switch. The drawing even had segmented directional buttons rather than a D-pad. Dale reported the console did not have region locking. In August, an anonymous 4chan leak claimed the console was called the Nintendo Focus and was a hybrid console. So far so good, but the leaker also included a lineup of games that left many skeptical. The lineup included both a new Super Smash Bros. For Focus, as well as Super Smash Bros. Melee HD, ports of Pokémon Gold and Silver and Pokémon Sun and Moon, and a Retro Studios helmed new F-Zero. On September 16th, the Breath of the Wild amiibo range inadvertently revealed the NX's release date. They were posted with a launch date of March 4th, 2017, although this date was quickly changed to a vague March. The date ended up being one day out, with the Switch launching on March 3rd. On September 20th, Pokémon Company CEO Tsunekazu Ishihara stated in an interview with the Wall Street Journal that the NX was trying to change the concept of what it means to be a home console device or a handheld device. Many took his statement as definitive proof the NX was a hybrid console. Later that same month, what was believed to be a sketch from a Foxconn employee was posted to NeoGAF. The sketch detailed a machine that looked very similar to the final Switch console, including one stating the dock improved the power of the handheld. The accuracy of the sketch is surprising, as it was soon confirmed to be fake. The original image was sourced to a since-deleted Chinese forum thread where users posted their ideas for the NX. However, it must be noted the same forum had previously been used to leak the PlayStation 4 Slim and PlayStation 4 Pro designs. On October 14th, My Nintendo news writer SSF1991 revealed that the Macquarie Group, an investment banking firm, had predicted the NX would be revealed the following week. This information was correct, and the NX was unveiled as the Nintendo Switch on October 20th, 2016, putting an end to years of rumors. However, rumors persisted even after this announcement. In December 2016, 3 sources told Eurogamer that the Switch would have GameCube games on its Virtual Console service. Several GameCube games were apparently running, with Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, and Super Smash Bros. Melee emulating perfectly, and an Animal Crossing emulation was being worked on. Eurogamer were also told there'd be an upgrade program similar to the Wii U's, where past Virtual Console purchases could be upgraded for a small amount rather than being purchased again at full price. Apparently, the Switch's increased power over Wii U allowed for proper GameCube emulation, which is why Nintendo avoided GameCube during the Wii U era. Another driving force behind a GameCube Virtual Console was apparently Nintendo's desire for Super Smash Bros. Melee to be easily playable. With the announcement of Nintendo Online in January 2017, this rumor was seemingly debunked. On October 4th, 2018, the Wall Street Journal reported Nintendo was planning a new version of the Switch to be released the next year. The new model was meant to boost the console's momentum, which had waned after its launch year. Nintendo's known for revised versions of their handheld hardware, such as the Game Boy Advance SP, the DS Lite and DSi, and the 3DS XL and new 3DS. Nintendo frequently denied claims they were planning a hardware revision. In January 2019, President Shuntaro Furukawa stated in an interview with the Sankei News that rumors of a price drop or hardware revision weren't true. Nevertheless, a Nikkei report issued soon afterwards claimed that Nintendo would release a smaller, cheaper Switch in 2019. This smaller Switch was to cost less, but have fewer features. In April, Nintendo gave a muted forecast for its financial performance and included no plans to unveil a new version of the Switch at E3 that year. Some investors and analysts considered this a bad move. However, a drop in the number of Switches Nintendo held in inventory led many to believe they were indeed preparing for the release of a new Switch. The Wall Street Journal, citing sources from a supply chain in Southeast Asia, reported Nintendo would continue releasing the original Switch model along with 2 new versions. In June, a series of Switch Lite accessories appeared on Chinese gaming accessory manufacturer Hanson CN's website. Many were skeptical as the renders used a mock-up of a Switch Mini that was circulating online. There also were no specifications listed for the item's size or weight. On July 1st, WinFuture leaker Roland Quant received images of a silicone case for the console from a reliable source, suggesting the final product's look. This was followed by the Nintendo Switch Lite being officially revealed on July 10, 2019. Of course, the Wall Street Journal had reported 2 new versions of the Switch. On August 7th, they reported Sharp was to supply Nintendo with IGZO display panels for its new video game machines. IGZO displays are designed to be high-resolution, durable displays that don't consume much power. Sharp didn't specify which Switch models were outfitted with IGZO displays. On September 7th, Nintendo Life uncovered a new patent for Nintendo's Joy-Con controllers. Appearing on Japan's official patent database, the patent displayed what appears to be Joy-Cons with hinges. These hinges allow the left analog stick and face buttons to be angled down while in use. Back in February, several outlets including Direct Feed Games, Game Informer, and Jeux Video claimed Xbox Game Pass would be coming to the Switch. This would work via an app that streamed the games to Switch from a Microsoft server. A few months later, industry insider David Gibson reported on Twitter that Nintendo would work with Microsoft's Azure to offer its own streaming service. Although several rumors about Nintendo and Microsoft collaborating in some way surfaced around this time, there's little evidence to directly support them.
Star Fox Grand Prix was probably the biggest rumor of the entire Switch generation. It's almost hard to believe that was 5 years ago, but we finally cracked the code. We talked to Retro Studios staff, gaming journalists like Jason Schreier who chased the original story, and a few social media influencers who broke the news, so to speak. This game had a whole media frenzy around it, and millions of Nintendo fans were convinced the rumors were true, but what if we told you the whole thing was entirely, utterly fake? But how is that even possible? And who started the hoax? Well, buckle up, because we're about to take you on a wild ride. Now, let's go back to the beginning, in case you need a reminder about all the hype around Star Fox Grand Prix. This was YouTube back in 2018.
But if it does turn out to be accurate, it'll be super intriguing to see if Retro can do to Star Fox what it's done to Metroid and Donkey Kong. That is, revive the franchise.
Star Fox Grand Prix that's supposedly being made by Retro Studios because lots of people seem to think it's true.
We're going to see a Star Fox Grand Prix announcement tomorrow.
Star Fox Grand Prix.
Star Fox Grand Prix.
Star Fox Grand Prix.
Star Fox Grand Prix.
Star Fox Grand Prix?
Star Fox Grand Prix could get the has-beens or the second-rate characters.
Right.
Cameos.
Not to mention all the news articles, tweets, and podcasts. And we're not dogging on these guys, by the way. They were just reporting on a viral rumor, and in a few cases, quite skeptically. But you get the point. Star Fox Grand Prix was on the tip of every tongue that summer, but an official announcement never came. 5 years pass and some fans are still wondering what happened exactly. Since then, most people subscribe to one of two theories. The first one is that it was Nintendo themselves who started a fake rumor, as a way to sniff out leakers in their midst. There's been a lot of secrets leaking out of Nintendo over the years, and some folks think this was all a ruse to plug it up. The other theory is that some gaming journalists got a sneak peek at Star Fox in Starlink Battle for Atlas and just got confused and thought it was a Star Fox racing game. We spent almost 2 years digging into this story and exploring these theories, so we'll walk you through our investigation. So, what about the popular theory that Nintendo started the rumor themselves? After all, that's what Google says happened. Initially, you might think making up fake games could negatively impact sales. For example, if everyone thought a Star Fox racing game was coming soon, maybe they'd save their money instead of buying something else. In that case, Nintendo would actually lose money, so we spoke to former Retro Studios senior producer Brian Walker. He's also worked for Activision, Embracer Group, and several other publishers. We asked Brian, do companies actually spread fake leaks about their own games?
I have seen it happen in other publishers where they'll let something quote leak unquote, or they'll tag a bit of information as having been delivered to a very short list of people, waiting for that to surface, and then just doing some forensics to narrow down where that came from. I have at other publishers seen that firsthand. Not in Nintendo though.
So fake corporate leaks do happen, but not necessarily at Nintendo. That's definitely not what happened this time though, because we found out who created the title Star Fox Grand Prix. It was the same guy who created this infamous logo. It wasn't anyone at Nintendo, it was the YouTube and Twitch streamer Roger's Base. But this reveal is just the tip of the iceberg. Some of the journalists who covered the Grand Prix rumors told us they suspected the whole thing was a hoax by Roger and one other social media influencer we'll get to in a minute. After all, Roger pulled a similar stunt back in 2009 when he made a Professor Layton Twitter account many believe was officially run by Nintendo. that was a long time ago, so we checked in with Roger to see if he was up to his old tricks. And he admitted that yeah, he made the Grand Prix logo. It was just a simple edit of the official Star Fox Guard logo, photoshopped in about 5 minutes. As for the title, the 1966 film Grand Prix is one of his dad's favorite movies, so it just kinda popped into his head.
Grand Prix!
Roger may have cooked up the name and the logo, but he said he wasn't responsible for the hoax. Innocently, he made a logo mock-up to use in a YouTube thumbnail, nothing out of the ordinary for his channel. Roger never ended up finishing that video, but it was gonna be a rumor that circulated back in 2012, when people were saying Retro was making a Star Fox/Metroid crossover game. History doesn't often repeat itself, but sometimes it rhymes. We'll come back to Roger's hijinks in a minute, but first, let's get Retro on the record about both projects. Again, here's Brian Walker, senior producer at Retro, when that rumor was going around. He called the Star Fox/Metroid crossover clickbait, pure and simple. As for Star Fox Grand Prix,
I wish sometimes that we were working on as many cool things as the fans think we were. To this day, I have people come up and say, yeah, we heard about this, and it's a shame it was canceled. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds cool, though. Let's do it. Kid Icarus, Star Fox Racing. I mean, there's not I don't think a Nintendo stable or IP that at some point hadn't been associated with something that Retro was supposedly working on.
Brian left Retro many years ago, so we got into contact with a dev who's still at Retro today. They wanted to remain anonymous, but told us there have been pitches related to that IP, but I have never heard of any racing project like that at Retro. We found one of those pitches, Star Fox Armada, which we covered extensively in a recent video. But as far as Grand Prix or a Metroid crossover, multiple people from Retro say they never existed. Maybe, though, you don't want to take Retro's word for it. Maybe you think they're lying or under NDA. So let's keep digging down to the roots of the rumor. Pretty much all those news articles about Star Fox Grand Prix dropped on the same day, May 14th, 2018. They all cited two sources, a 4chan thread revealing the game's logo, which we've already established was made by Roger's base, and the other was Reddit leaker Das Vergeben, who claimed Retro was making a Star Fox racing game, which was like Diddy Kong Racing mixed with F-Zero, featuring an adventure mode, boss fights, and a hub world. Journalists thought that Vergeben's prediction was worthy of being their cited source because he'd correctly predicted Smash Ultimate Fighters in the past. His record wasn't spotless though. He said Halo's Master Chief was going to get added, but Kazuya got announced instead. We offered Vergeben opportunities to give his side of the Grand Prix story since early 2022, but he dodged our questions, and soon after, he completely disappeared from the internet. But whether or not he ever had legit insider information about anything's not particularly important. Like most self-proclaimed leakers, sometimes he just piggybacks on other people's rumors, which is exactly what happened with Star Fox Grand Prix. We're talking about Vergeben because he was the cited source for those news articles, but in reality, a lot of those journalists heard the rumor weeks before. You see, when Roger made that fake logo, he showed it to 3 of his friends. One of those friends was a Twitter rumor monger with a bunch of followers. We've been asked to keep his identity a secret so he doesn't get hate brigaded, and some information we were only able to obtain because we promised to keep him anonymous. There's plenty of clout seekers who don't use their real names and share fake leaks on Twitter, and it doesn't really matter which one it was this time. We gotta call him something though, so let's call him Waddle D Knows. We talked to Waddle D and he admitted that after he got the fake logo from Roger, he sent it to IGN. Then IGN published the logo and the rumor. They also shared it on their podcast.
I think we have the logo here. It was actually passed along to us to Star Fox Grand Prix. There you can see it.
Waddle Dee sent it to some other folks too, and to make his claims more credible, he showed them an Instagram photo of Roger outside Retro HQ, and said Roger got a sneak peek at the game because he's a YouTube star. In reality, Roger had been at a separate event literally down the street in Austin, Texas, and just swung by Retro for a photo op. He didn't get a sneak peek at anything. Heck, he didn't even walk inside the building. That was March 2018, not long before Roger made the logo and the rumor went public. Waddle Dee confessed to sending the logo to IGN, but denied the rest of those details. They were, however, confirmed to us by people he sent stuff to. From there, the rumor was big enough that even if it couldn't be verified, the rumor itself was news. When one outlet covers a rumor, it basically serves as a smokescreen and encourages other outlets to cover it too. Journalists were sending the logo to each other in group chats, rewording each other's articles, and practically every news site under the sun ended up covering it. So why would Waddle Dee Knows do this? When we talked to him, he said it was just a mistake, and he thought Retro really did give Roger a sneak peek at Star Fox Grand Prix. So he told people about it. His side of the story is basically that he was gullible and made some foolish decisions. The whole thing was just an accident caused by poor judgment. He wasn't entirely forthcoming though, and some of the things he said were probably untrue. Some of the folks he contacted believe it was all intentional and he did it for clout, wanting to establish himself as a known entity and a source, so he'd be the kind of guy IGN seeks out for information. Others told us he wanted to tweet about Star Fox Grand Prix, then have it show up in the news a few days later so he'd look like a legit leaker. He could then say he broke the story before the big news sites. It's impossible to say for certain what was going on in his head, especially since a lot of tweets got deleted. In fact, he was actively deleting tweets while we were talking to him. And without a full confession, we can't 100% confirm his motivations. Based on prior statements and actions though, the motive appears to be the pursuit of internet clout. Twitter followers, likes, retweets, and that warm, fuzzy feeling of being somebody important. All that said, this was 5 years ago, and he isn't a Twitter leaker anymore, so please don't go hate tweeting people you suspect might have been the real Waddle Dee. The purpose of this video is to find the truth behind the Switch generation's biggest rumor, not to punish one guy for just lying on the internet. As for Roger, he made the logo and the title, but we couldn't find any evidence he did anything dishonest. He said he never claimed to get a sneak peek at Grand Prix, and no one we talked to ever heard him make that claim, not even Waddle Dee. Roger was very forthcoming throughout our investigation and said there's no way he'd jeopardize his Nintendo ambassadorship to leak an upcoming game. It's worth noting though, Waddle Dee might not have been the only person deliberately hoaxing. The logo, posted on 4chan and published by several outlets, was slightly altered from what Roger made. The R-wing was cropped off, a TM was added, and the bottom font was different. Another change was the file name text underneath, and the fact that it was photographed. It's kind of a cliche at this point that leaks appear more believable when they're snapped with a phone camera, as if the leaker just barely had time when no one else was looking. Waddle Dee might have made those edits himself, or it might have been someone who got the logo downstream from him. Waddle Dee denied editing the logo, so maybe it was another rumor monger with similar motivations, or it was just 4chan trolls who did it for the lols. Who exactly is responsible for the 4chan logo is a detail we couldn't quite nail down. It's not especially important, but we wanted to address it to leave no stone unturned. Regardless, it was definitely derived from the logo Waddle Dee got from Roger. The similarities, timing, and of course the title, Star Fox Grand Prix, are too much to be just a coincidence. However, as convenient as it'd be to lay all the blame on one man, some blame might need to be shared. We said there were two prevailing theories earlier. Nintendo staged the leak to sniff out leakers, which we already covered, and the others that confused journalists saw Star Fox in Starlink Battle for Atlas and thought it was Star Fox Grand Prix. The second theory arose because the timing made sense. The rumor went around in May 2018, and Star Fox and Starlink was publicly announced 1 month later in June. So maybe some journalists got an early sneak peek and got their wires crossed. We didn't initially believe it though, because how could someone get invited by Ubisoft for a sneak peek at Starlink and come out thinking Retro Studios showed them Grand Prix? It's not like they're scrounging for scoops, spying through windows, so we initially figured a mix-up was unlikely. Especially since Starlink's Racing Mode DLC wasn't released till a year later. But apparently, that actually did happen. A senior journalist at one of the biggest outlets got a closed-doors preview of Starlink, but told other journalists that Retro showed him a Star Fox racing game, or at least that's what those other journos told us. When we questioned the senior writer about it, he said yeah, he saw Starlink, but never claimed he saw Grand Prix. We weren't sure if we could believe him though. Frankly, a lot of people we spoke to have lied to us. That's partly why this video took almost 2 years to make. One person would say a colleague did or said X, then when we went to corroborate, that colleague then denied it. Only one of them could be telling the truth. Some of the folks caught up in this story have every incentive to cover their tracks or downplay their involvement. We don't want to paint with too broad a brush though. Some journalists were very helpful and provided us with leads off the record. This video wouldn't have been possible without their insight, so we're definitely not saying all journos are bad or anything like that. As for media coverage, the situation was best described to us by investigative journalist Jason Schreier. He was one of the guys who covered the rumor the same day as every other outlet on May 14th. To his credit, he later provided a public update saying his one insider source later backpedaled on the game being real, and that a lot of Nintendo rumor mongers talk to each other, so sometimes what appears to journalists as multiple sources might actually be coming from a ring of people sharing information with each other. Based on our investigation, that seems to be exactly what happened here. Speaking to us more recently, Schreier said he suspects his one source heard the rumor from that same ring of gossipers who had all received the same photoshopped fake logo. Star Fox Grand Prix never existed. It was a rumor sparked by one guy on Twitter, proliferated by gaming journalists, YouTubers, and other piggybacking leakers, then gulped down by fans who wanted it to be true. If there's a lesson to be learned, it's that when you see a dozen gaming sites all covering the same story on the same day, they probably didn't have time to independently verify if any of it was actually true. Especially when their sources are Reddit leakers, 4chan threads, and other journalists. Some rumors do turn out to be true, but Star Fox Grand Prix was a hoax. Thankfully, we can finally lay the rumor to rest.
For every iconic Nintendo game like Super Mario 64, Super Metroid, or Pokémon Red and Blue, there's a horde of rumored Nintendo games that never actually existed. And while many of these rumored games can be boiled down to someone telling a lie on a message board, some of them have more interesting backstories. In this video, we'll be talking about a few of the more interesting and eccentric rumored Nintendo games. Some that were completely made up, some that were half-truths, and some that may have actually existed but can't be proven. And since Metroid Dread recently released on the Switch, we thought we'd start this video off right with a few rumored Metroid games. At E3 2017, Nintendo dropped a bit of a bombshell during their presentation. Metroid Prime, a sub-series that many thought had come to a close, was suddenly revived with a tease of Metroid Prime 4 for the Nintendo Switch. And if that wasn't enough, a few hours later Nintendo revealed that Metroid 2 was being remade for the 3DS by Mercury Steam. Fans knew that a Prime 4 release was still years off, and that Samus Returns was coming later that year. This drummed up a lot of speculation about what Nintendo might do to fill the gap between the two games, if at all. It seemed like a no-brainer that Nintendo would port the Metroid Prime trilogy to the Switch, and this was understandably a recurring rumor following the Prime 4 announcement. However, some leakers and rumor mongers went a step further than this, believing Nintendo had another remake in the works. In November 2019, a group of leakers named Leaky Pandy, who was previously previously been called Vandal Leaks, tweeted, "Nintendo is planning 2 new Metroid titles that will release in the next 2 fiscal years respectively. One is a re-release of Metroid Prime Trilogy HD, the second one is a Super Metroid remake that mimics Samus Returns in style and scope." While many were excited for a potential Super Metroid remake on Switch, others were more skeptical. A remake of Samus Returns on 3DS made a lot of sense. Metroid 2 would probably age the worst out of all the Metroid titles, and would benefit from a remake. Super Metroid, however, is still beloved and played by millions regularly to this day, and clearly wouldn't benefit as much from a remake. Some also pointed at the spotty history of Leaky Pandy's rumors. Although the group had correctly predicted a date for an August 2018 Nintendo Direct, and that gameplay for Travis Strikes Again would feature single Joy-Con co-op gameplay, many of their other predictions didn't come true, like Mario Odyssey getting a new Luigi's Mansion-based kingdom with a new 43 stars, and as the old saying goes, a broken clock is right twice a day. A new 2D Metroid was announced nearly a year and a half later as Metroid Dread, but the likelihood of the rumor and Dread being connected seems low. And this isn't the only rumored Metroid game we're talking about today. In September 2011, Metroid Database posted a scan from a 1998 issue of Germany's Club Nintendo magazine. Club Nintendo seemed to be featuring a screenshot from a Game Boy Color version of Metroid 2, which fans have come to call Metroid 2 DX, in the same vein as Link's Awakening DX. Interestingly, the page never mentions Metroid by name, and it's not clear if the image is real or some kind of mock-up. The user who sent the scan to Metroid Database, Prime Blue, said that Club Nintendo rarely made mock-ups for games, and tended to only use official material. But there are several factors that indicate the image may be a mock-up and not a screenshot of an actual game. One of the reasons is that the alleged Metroid 2 DX image depicted an entirely new area not found in Metroid 2, and used a combination of enemies that can't be found in the game either. Comments from developers don't seem to back up the image either. In a 1998 interview, Nintendo of America localizer Dan Ausen didn't seem to recall the game existing, and just mentioned that the Game Boy Color had a Metroid palette built in. When asked about a Game Boy Color re-release of Metroid 2, Ausen said, "Since R&D 1 was involved in the development of Game Boy Color, I think they were able to put a special Metroid palette in the GBC hardware. This makes Metroid 2 look really nice on Game Boy Color." The game was also never listed as in development by Nintendo Power. Series developer Yoshio Sakamoto also stated that no Metroid titles were developed for the Game Boy Color because the system's limitations were closer to the original Nintendo. Any handheld Metroid game would have been technically very inferior to Super Metroid, and therefore would be compared to it unfavorably. Our next rumored Nintendo game is a little more recent, and will leave you thinking about what could have been. In June 2015, gaming historian and Did You Know Gaming collaborator Liam Robertson posted a video on his YouTube channel talking about a potential F-Zero title on the Wii U. Liam had been tipped off that Criterion Games was asked by Nintendo of Europe if the studio had any interest in working on the F-Zero IP. Criterion are responsible for the Burnout series, as well as several well-received entries in the Need for Speed franchise. Given the studio's familiarity with high-octane racers, it's understandable why Nintendo might approach them with an offer to work on F-Zero. Liam set out to see if he could confirm the rumor, and reached out to former Vice President and Creative Director of Criterion Games, Alex Ward. Ward confirmed that the rumor was true, and that in early 2011, someone at Nintendo of Europe asked Criterion about doing an F-Zero game for the Wii U. At the time, Criterion was developing Need for Speed Most Wanted, and wasn't available for any new projects, and Nintendo wanted the game in production ASAP, with another source telling Liam that Nintendo wanted to show F-Zero off at the Wii U's unveiling at E3 2011. By the time Liam posted his video, it'd been over a decade since the last F-Zero title was released. Fans were clamoring for any news on the franchise, which led to several news sites picking up Liam's report, but many of them seem to have gotten the report completely wrong. Several outlets embellished the story, saying that an F-Zero title had been in development for the Wii U, but was cancelled. But the project, if you can even call it that, was never even formally pitched. This led to Ward playing down the rumors on the Game Informer show, where he said that the Nintendo representative who reached out to him about F-Zero was very junior, and implied this rep wouldn't have been able to even arrange a pitch. For our next rumored game, we're going back in time again, to an era where gaming rumors mainly came from magazines. One magazine that was quick to report rumors rumors back in the day was Electronic Gaming Monthly. In their gaming gossip section, EGM's Quarterman would report a handful of rumors from the industry in every issue, and one of these rumors told of a brand new Mario and Donkey Kong game coming to the Super Nintendo. They went on to talk about how the game was a 16-bit remake of the arcade version of Donkey Kong with new scenes and better graphics. Although we've mentioned this rumor in a previous episode, what we didn't mention was EGM's follow-up over a year later. According to the outlet's June 1993 issue, the Mario and Donkey Kong title got further into development, but was, quote, placed on the Philips CDI and Super Famicom CD platforms. EGM also said the title was slated to come out sometime in the following year, which is notably optimistic for a game that was never released. That said, some part of this rumor may be true. Back in 1992 to 93, a company called RSP was developing games for the Super Nintendo and Philips CDI. This was a USA-based independent studio founded by Atari's Mike Rydell, who'd worked on titles like Spy vs. Spy and Commando. Another staffer at RSP was Adrian Jackson Jones, who worked as a Super Nintendo and CDI programmer. Although Adrian only spent a year at RSP, he'd later add a curious game to his resume. According to Adrian, he designed and implemented the game engine for the CDI system game Donkey Kong. The fact that RSP was working on both Super Nintendo and CDI titles, and reportedly developed a DK CDI game around 1993, the same time frame as the rumor, could mean EGM's rumor was legit. And while we're talking about Donkey Kong, we might as well talk about another rumored DK title. One 8-bit Nintendo game, Return of Donkey Kong, is a unique example of a title that may just be a rumor, but could potentially be an unreleased project. In 1987, the official Nintendo Player's Guide listed an upcoming title in their coming attractions section as Return of Donkey Kong, the fourth installment of the arcade series where you'd get a hold of that barrel-throwing, mischief-making rascal and take control. Months later, in the March 1988 issue of Nintendo Fun Club, Nintendo's official newsletter from the 80s, a similar preview was made, hinting at the idea of Donkey Kong becoming a playable character. Despite being name-dropped in print on multiple occasions, there's no proof of whether the game existed or not. Several Nintendo employees, such as spokesperson Howard Phillips and executive VP Don James, have no memory of the game when asked about it. In addition to this, no screenshots of the game in action have yet to surface. A 1997 issue of the British N64 magazine claimed that Return of Donkey Kong was completed, but gave no sources to back it up, so take that with a grain of salt.